Thank you, Eric.
Is
that the man I'm waiting for?
It's the guy.
Uh-oh.
Get you early.
Oh, boy.
Well, I'm not, that way I'm not tying up any.
I said paperwork in filed last year.
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Gary, roll call, please.
Before I do the roll call, did everybody sign in tonight? Anyone who didn't sign in? Who's got the, oh, my, where's the clipboard, please? And if you just pass it around, sir, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Roll call, Bud. Present. Barb.
Here.
Alan Robbins.
Here.
Tamitha.
Here.
Keith. Here. Ken.
Here.
Jim.
Here.
Alan Michelson.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, you've all had time to read the minutes. If there's no questions or corrections on the minutes, we need a motion.
Move that the minutes be approved as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you have a copy of the bills. Is this complete, Gary? Just get some more.
I had a last minute addition. Put all this paperwork I just got.
Take your time.
Okay, we had a last minute addition of $1,116.91. So the total for approval tonight is $47,235.47.
I motion that we approve the bills to be paid from the appropriate accounts.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, before we start with the regular committee reports, first I want to thank Tamitha for the newsletter. It was very thorough, it was very big, but she did a nice job on it. Everybody had a lot to say. And also I want to thank Ken and those of you that helped Ken get the beach ready for opening. It really looks nice and you all did a good job. And it looks like the beach attendants are doing their thing, so thank you all for getting that done.
Good beach weather.
Okay, now, we also have, you all should have gotten this copy of this agreement with the water ski team. This has not really changed any that I can see, other than we did get this a little late, so I'm assuming you already had your learn to ski day. Okay. So we need to make, a motion, just to accept it? This pretty much says that they're gonna have practice on Thursday evening and Saturday morning. You're gonna have a ski show, on July 4th and Labor Day. They, help clean up the beach, they pay for the porta potty. And, do some practicing around with their jumping pyramid and stuff, so. We need a motion to, accept this agreement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, have a nice learn to ski day. Yes.
65 here.
Okay, now we'll go to safety, Alan.
Make sure I passed out the deputies report. First was the hours of activity. Targeted hours for May were 100. They logged in 102, so we're right on target and green zone. Miles logged on a cruiser was 788. Gallons of fuel approximate was 41.4. Hours they worked: Carhay 31, Cornelius 27, King 24, Small 20 for the 102. Then for the next 4 months, we moved to 120 hours a month. And does that look good?
Yep.
Problem?
No.
Officer Small helps us with extra coverage, and you got vacation times and all the other things that can interfere. So thank you, Deputy RA, for a good job. The detail report for activities, burglar in progress was 1, civil papers 1, animal complaint 1, disturbance or fight 1, squad or ambulance 6, mental 1, extra patrols for 55, traffic enforcement radar 4, Victor watch 16, harassment by phone 1, suspicious person vehicle 1, assist other agencies 2, animal bite or attack 1, building checks 14, school bus violation 1, so citizens assist standby directions 1, duplicate call 1, follow-up 1, golf cart inspection 5, parking complaint 1, repossession of vehicle 1, standby assist general escort 1, suspicious circumstances 1, traffic stop 5, unwanted subject 1, welfare check 2, total activities 130. As we go through, we talked briefly about the burglary incident there. Those go into detective scenarios, so we really don't, we don't have access to that information of those to detect those.
Burglary in progress, it doesn't necessarily mean our house is getting broken into. We get those all the time. If somebody calls at 3 in the morning because they hear something outside of their house, or they think somebody's right on their door, that's how we get the calls. That might be no alarm because of that. If it was something serious, I would have known about it.
Anything on the list that you're concerned about?
Nope.
Activities? You know, we get the kids that come out of school, you know, some of that we just expected to be around, come every year, but the officers are aware of that and how to handle it. We did have some vandalism down in the Machi Court, disturbing the nice scoring system. Somebody broke it off, but to the best of my knowledge, it's been repaired satisfactorily to do that. So I appreciate that. Did get some calls for some reckless vehicle operation along the way. Talked to them about how we might address it. And then we had a couple of corners, or at least one corner, where some bush overgrowth is and people can't see vehicles coming that direction. And we'll talk with zoning about those locations and see if they can be addressed properly. So, any questions on the report from the deputies? Thank you, Jim. Appreciate the work that the deputies did. Bud's going to use some technology here. Jerry Winkler's in training, staff trainings, but he did send a report. I'll give it to you. Send my phone to his phone, and it looked like it worked earlier. Good. So this is a more familiar report that we've seen from the fire department. Just gives a summary of Lafayette Township and those people inside the fire district. And so simplistically, this is for May of this year, this past month. 51 incident calls for the township. The village of Chippewa Lake had 8. City, back so we can see the left column. Let's see, Medina 1, Hinckley 1, Harrisville Township 1, Chatham 1, Seville 1, Lloyd Lynn's 1, North Township 2, Westfield 1. So it kind of shows we're 8 out of 68 for the village, but the others are obviously Lafayette is more. And then this is really just a summary from the first of the year. You know, Lafayette Township across the top, village of Chippewa Lake, the second line down. And so you get where we are in the total scope of things. We're 23 of 262 Lafayette Township calls with 315. So I guess that's 5%, ballpark of their calls. They're in progress of obviously hiring, training, keeping their people up to speed. Otherwise, I don't have where they are on open slots. we both looked at their organization chart. They had several officer positions that were being filled properly, which takes kind of the hierarchy, but any of these keeping, attaining or retaining new staff is always difficult because they can go wherever they want. But they do a good job. There's good cooperation among the other fire departments locally, so keeping them trained, and they do a good job with that. Any questions on fire district issues? Sure, Tim.
Are they going to fix the siren, the tornado warning siren?
Oh, good luck with that.
Great to say, the tornado siren has been a 2 or 3 year topic of discussion. It's within EMA, emergency management controls that, even though it's tripped off by the dispatch and everybody thinks the fire department has something to do with it, but since Station 2 is no longer part of the fire department, it moves on.
So who is directly accountable for that then?
Well, none of them want to be, but last month the sheriff was here, the actual sheriff was here. Asked him to look into it, about the signal not reaching our siren. It's on the emergency management building right now, so they claim they need to get a $40,000 grant to fix it. There are people in the room that believe all it needs is to make the antenna a little bit higher so the signal can get to it, which is very easy to fix, but, the last 2 years, we just can't convince anybody of any of this, so we just keep aggravating them.
The siren does work, it just doesn't.
Lightning did it a couple of weeks ago when that big lightning bolt came during the day. I don't know if you were home. Went off for about 5 minutes then. And yet they claimed it was not hit by lightning, so who knows?
Yeah, so it's in the EMA's lap, and they're looking for money to replace it.
They're who are in the fire station now.
So, seems like a simple problem.
Seems like we had a 16-year-old boy genius from Dinah High School, and it seemed like a simple problem to him too. And I don't know, nobody wants simple. So that's where we're at with that. I have a question.
Sure.
How does Gary get this for the minutes?
If
If he needs any, I don't know if he'll need all that, but.
He emailed it to me and carbon copied it to Gary, so he has that available to him.
Okay,
If not, Gary can give it in also.
I'll let you know. Thank you.
He sent that when he realized he was not gonna be able to attend. So. That's all I have.
okay, then we'll go to zoning.
Zoning report for June. 9 partly passed. We will be filing charges this week. A lot of the director and I spoke about this earlier, so press charges, basically the same violations it's had all along for the last 2 years.
Except
So,
for the sea-doo is gone on the trailer.
yeah.
Sea-doo.
Yeah, the cedar.
The truck.
Yeah, the fence is falling down, the property's a mess, the chimney's falling over on top of the roof. He's got a little pond in the back that just collects muck and produces mosquitoes.
All those charges are ready.
Yeah. 353 Briarwood, a letter was posted and sent via mail. And there was many property maintenance issues with the structure and the property itself. The grass wasn't being cut and taken care of. And I met with the representative from the real estate company, and he has a standing order for them to be cutting the grass every week. So the grass has been cut from that point on when I spoke with him. But the other issues with the house are I guess, in the hands of whoever decides to buy the house. So.
It was transferred to the Bank of New York, May 25th. So if there's some serious problems, we can get in touch with the bank and tell them to get their maintenance people on it.
Well, it sounds like you've got some serious problems.
I mean, it's the siding, the gutters, the roof, the garage in the back.
Okay,
It's like major structural and not so structural things, but,
did you send out a notice?
not to the bank,
No, I mean to anybody.
I sent a notice and posted a notice.
Can you send me a copy?
Yep. 57 Bungalow Bay, a letter was posted and sent for the conditions on the property. The property has many violations, including stacking construction materials and debris and things like that in the rear yard. I had first sent a letter to open a conversation, and there was no response, so then I went directly to order to correct. And residents living there, and he had said that they were going to plan to have the yard ripped out and a whole bunch of landscaping done in this month. So they're supposed to be starting that next week sometime.
Yeah, I also had a long talk with one of the owners, and she told me that next week McComas Landscaping is coming out to remove the entire yard and put in sculpted materials and rocks and things, and remove a whole lot of the deck and a whole lot of other materials. So let's see what happens next week.
130 Clover Cliff, a warning notice was posted and a letter was sent to the owner in Parma about the conditions of the property. The grass has been cut since and been taken care of, so thank you for that. I have two permits, 22-003 at 151 Brookshore Drive, and that is a garage addition. I also have 22-004 at 360 Briarwood Boulevard, and that is a permit for a deck addition. The last thing that I have on my list is a variance hearing for 212 Rustic Brook Road. Would you like to call the meeting to order?
Okay, let's call the variance hearing to order. Is Mr. Henderson here? Okay. You're the owner of 212 Rustic Road?
Yes, sir.
And would you like to explain to council what kind of variance you're looking for here and why?
If you could, for the live stream, if you could have him stand up and maybe.
Okay.
We have an existing deck that's been there for 16 years. As long as I've owned the house, and we want to put a roof over it. That's it.
And the deck itself is 2 feet from the property line,
Yeah.
and it should be 5, Jim?
5 is the,
But the deck is a pre-existing condition.
yeah, and it's also the houses too.
Yeah, the house is predated zoning, and these conditions are what we call non-conforming pre-existing uses. And there is a section of the Fiberglass Code that says that you may grant an extension, repair, reconstruction, or even an expansion of a pre-existing use like that. So it sounds like it would be consistent with the floor plan. Is there anybody else here to speak about this variance request? Neighbors?
I received an email from the next door neighbor, and she said that she was okay and fine with everything with the plan, with the variance.
And you sent a notice to every neighbor?
Yes. And she's the neighbor at 211. Her name is Deanne Grocer?
Yeah.
Is it Grocer?
Yeah.
That's all you heard from any of the neighbors?
That was it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, council have any questions?
The builder's here, so the building of this roof would conform to what we're seeing on the drawing.
Yes.
What's your name?
Gary Gretz.
He's hiding back there.
Didn't see him very well. Okay. Well, it's the items you're supposed to consider in a variance like this, which is, it's just called an area variance, because it's not changing the use of the property, are, will the variance yield a reasonable return for the property? Is it substantial or not? Will the essential character of the neighborhood be changed? Will it affect the delivery of governmental services to the property, such as fire, rescue, police? Will it, did the owner purchase the property with knowledge of the zoning requirements? Can the problem be solved by some other manner other than granting a variance? And will the variance preserve the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance with substantial justice to be served? If you are ready to further question, anything else you want to say, sir? Why don't you do a roll call and ask for a yes or no vote for granting the variance?
Okay, Alan,
Yes.
Bud,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Ametha,
Yes.
Keith,
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, you'll get a notice of the decision in writing from the zoning inspector.
All right, thank you very much. And we'll need the check for the permit. What's the next step? On to the building department after that. That's all I have for zoning.
Make, the long time legal problem, that has been, I apologize, all of the address, but that appears to be corrected.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's, they've done an awful lot of work over the last month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jim, there was a resident's complaint today about the bushes at the corner of Lazy Wood and Longacre. They're blocking the view from the stop sign. They exceed the 5 foot, Bill, where is it?
4 foot.
4 foot. Anyway, they're tall and you cannot see the people coming up to the stop sign.
Okay. I'll check that out. Thank you.
I think that address is, I think it's 91 Longacre or 92.
Okay. Thank you. Is where the incident is, or
Pardon me?
the person who complained, or the place where it is?
Oh, that's where the bushes are.
Okay. All right.
I think that, Howard,
Walters.
is your house 90?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
Can I say, I want
so I think it's 87. No, it's 92.
92.
They go up.
he said that he had those bushes high, so he didn't have to look at the house across the street that's had the white paint on it.
That's too bad, because the people
But he
that
seems
are not able to see traffic is
But
more.
I'm not saying that, I agree, but has anybody said anything to him for 8 months of not painting that house? That's all I'm saying.
And he seems to keep at it.
That
He's not done anything.
He was more like,
for the peeling paint, and was told to paint, scrape and paint the house, so he scraped all the stuff off of that was peeling, and then he painted it. But he didn't like paint the whole house.
Right, he just
Basically, yeah.
you should have a paint party.
painted last night, it was at your house.
And now that we're finally into a weather that's a little more consistent and not just constantly raining on and off, it can be something I can address.
I'm pretty sure the front of that house is now all white, and I don't think it was last week.
Do you clarify what color they need to paint it? Because it is scraped and painted.
No. It was technically corrected.
Looks like spotted pony.
In the meantime, we look into the bushes,
Sure.
please.
Yep.
Okay,
I have the issue. Mr. Barcy on Longacre, I was talking to his one neighbor, and he was wondering if we could do something about the animals that are burrowing under the neighbors' houses and that. And I said, so how much of a problem is that? And he was mentioning that he'd spent several $1,000s having his foundation repaired after animals from the abutment property burrow under it. And also there's a couple of good-sized bushes out front that may access to the road is sort of dangerous, if that could be trimmed down.
What's the location?
Long Beach is
87 Long Beach.
It's
87 Long Acre.
it backs in
I think it's
the back
87.
there. It's a through lot. Needs some work, that's for sure.
I'm not sure if I can have any control over animals and what they do, but
You can get.
I can talk to him and visit with him at the property and see what we can do.
I'm sure that they would appreciate that.
Can I speak up on that? So it's groundhogs, we've seen skunks, there's a wood pile that's been there, we know at least 6 years. Living there, it's been spoken to many, many times. Not only that, but there's rubbish, so you know the issue with the truck. He got the truck running, but now he's filled it with rubbish. And there's rubbish, there's cans, there's building material along the side of the house. I can send you pictures of, you know, you've seen it all. So there just seems to be any disregard for the community and neighbors. And I know you've spoken to him many times, and it just goes nowhere. So speaking to him about it, how long you been doing that, year after year after year? That's
I've written him up almost every year.
Yeah, but he's in violation.
He gets out of order and then he gets out of violation and then
Right.
they kind of just as a student.
We've had it in court maybe 4 times,
Right.
and with some effect, but there's always backsliding after that.
Well, bringing it up again because,
Right.
you know, we have neighbors that just spent thousands of dollars. We have skunks and groundhogs running through our yard going into the wood pile. And I know Bud brought up wood a while ago, and I don't know how long you can let it sit there, but every neighbor I know has offered to buy it, move it. No, there's an emotional attachment to the wood pile with the shredded tarp on it that the animals are living under.
I'm smiling because it's such irony.
Yeah,
You know, unfortunately for us, it's one of those lingering local color events. You know, he goes in and out of health. He's had some dramatic health events.
Yeah.
But that's an aside. We'll renew our efforts. It doesn't reflect well on us. We don't want it in the village.
Yeah.
So,
it's a lingering annoyance to you, but every morning that I get up and I sit on my patio, I look at the rubbish that's been piled in the truck. And according to, section 313 in nuisance, it says no weeds or underbrush or unsightly brush shall be permitted to grow. In the front of the house it's grown, we can't use the driveway there.
Right.
And then at B, it says all garbage, rubbish, and refuse must be removed, from the premises at least once a week. The truck's full of rubbish.
no argument. I just looked
Yeah, I
at
know. So he's in violation. The garbage cans have been there, I've been there at least 3 years, and the garbage cans in the back are full of rubbish, and I've got pictures, the rubbish is all over the property. So talking to him isn't enough.
it. In support of what Jim said earlier, now we finally have respites of several days worth of dry weather. We will, expend some enthusiasm with our zoning issues. Frankly, it's just impractical for us to be jacking people up, and it's raining out.
Well, it's not the rain, it's been years,
I know.
and it's no disregard for the community. Again, it's a nuisance to everybody else, but it's a little more than that to us who look at it every morning.
We'll be more proactive. How's that?
And if we end up in court, that's fine, we've done it before.
I know, yeah.
We get some response that way.
And I know there were health issues and blah, 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 so health issues, rip the shingles off the house, throw them on the ground, and a year later, they're still there. The health issues are gone, but the old shingles are not. They're still there.
That helps, sir.
Yeah, does anybody ever offer to help this gentleman maybe clean up? Because he can't do it himself, and secondly, whenever I have animals coming over to my house,
burial else, dumpsters. I just put a lot of animal crap out, the trash, and take them, you know.
Jeff, there's a variety of applications of solutions to problems.
Yeah.
Vary. We don't have cookie cutter solutions, unfortunately. One size does not fit all.
Sure, we've offered to the church and whatever to come over and help and clean things up, but he's so particular about his property and liability. He doesn't want anyone on his property. Without him there, he's never gonna be here, so he's.
We offer as well. Yeah, I mean, if it's garbage, how can it's garbage, why can't somebody just go help them get rid of it, get the recycling center and help them out? It's the tax.
Okay, well, Jim will look into it, and I'm sure Mr. Barksey will be contacting a few of us about this, but that's okay.
Thank you for hearing me again.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, at this time, are you done with all your reports?
Yeah, I've got old business, new business, that way.
Okay, so you don't want to do this ordinance now? Okay, well then we'll go on to, does anybody have any questions for zoning? Okay, we'll go on to community relations, Tamitha.
Joanne?
Joanne?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it does.
I have a question for zoning, Alan, believe you've been working on this.
What's your question?
My question is it resolved?
Would you like to tell us what your question is, Jeff, or be a man of mystery?
I sure will. Here, I've got some copies of a letter that I received from the park telling me that they were going to impound my dock and make me pay for its removal.
Okay, we don't have anything to do with the dock.
I had lake rights.
We don't have anything to do with that.
Well, they're claiming that I don't have the right to cross community property to get to my dock. So that is a zoning issue.
Well, on that, Jeff, on that, I sent a lot of documentation to Jeff Holland, who's the attorney for the Park District, and I had a talk with him today, and I think that I've educated him on the issue of the park and community land along the lakefront that owners and renters in the village can use and cross, even though it's owned by private parties. So I think we came to a meeting of the minds on that. As far as the docks go, the docks are in the water, that's not within the village limits, and we don't have any jurisdiction over the docks.
Okay.
I told him my reasons for why I think the dock situation is one where there'd be some trouble legally if he tried to get docks removed, but that's not my department, you know, that's just an opinion by me. There's nothing really in the deeds that says any individual has a right to put a dock in, although the owners of the property down there,
Right.
the deed restrictions say docks can be built and
How could
piers.
I have been specifically pointed out in a deed that was written in 1920? That I, Jeff Schmidt, have the right to put a dock in the lake?
Well, I don't know about that, you have a right
Yeah,
to
that's what
cross
I'm
that
saying.
property.
Saying, what do you specifically, state the fact that you could have a right to put a dock in the lake, and how can you prove it's your dock? Is what he's asking me too. This doesn't affect just me, this affects every single dock owner and every single boater, because 2 people on my dock now have been denied an overnight sticker because they're on my dock, which I've had to refund.
Well, I also told Mr. Holland that, you know, the park district is the government and they cannot discriminate like that. That's
I
my,
asked him, what business is your business in our village? This is park property in our village.
well, the docks are their business because we don't have regulation over the docks.
Yes.
And they're not in our village, the docks are in Long Beach.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
I
but you
comply with
know,
every regulation they have. We got $1 million liability, we have the same insurance we've had all these
Right.
years, and the final straw with them was, well, you can't use that property to get to your dock.
well, you can, and that's
Okay.
my opinion, and I think that he understands that.
Okay, well, that goes for every dock owner and boat owner with lake rights. If the park's trying to take them away from me, then
Well,
you're
I'm
next.
talking about crossing the property to get to your dock.
Right.
The dock itself is a matter between you and the park district.
And there are some properties in this village where they are allowed to tell you you're not allowed to go across them.
Well, north
get
of
to
the
your
creek.
dock, but not down by you.
Yeah, north of the creek.
Right.
Those properties are They have restrictions, no buildings, et cetera, but they are privately owned.
Well, I have a question about that.
But from the creek down, they're owned, but they're subject to park and community use.
The Vikings have an electrical post outside their dock, and electric on their dock, and I just wondered where that electric comes from. Do they run an extension cord from their house to their dock?
No.
Don't know.
Okay, another thing is, Jim, have you ever had to mow our grass? Ever?
Not your yard.
Okay, then why did you take our canoe and throw it into our bushes and
That's
start to mow our
That's in
lawn?
the village.
I've
right?
always mowed it.
That's
Hey,
not,
you didn't go throw Howard
that's not
Wolf's
your yard.
pile of construction off when it was on village property, and then you went on to Bonnie's property and mowed her grass, because Barb told you to. What do you do with people who don't mow their grass?
What happened was, I removed your property from the village right of way, which is the area that goes adjacent to your backyard.
You took it through it up in our bushes, my daughter and I watched you when I came over and said, what
I
are you
removed
doing?
it from
I mowed the
the
grass
right of
here.
way because I was checking the yard because that's part of
You,
the.
you can see over the canoe, Jim.
It's in the village right of way, you've been told before many times to keep that out of there and have it moved. That's not your yard, that's the village property. You know this because you just recently got a survey, you know where your pins are in your property.
Yeah, but you
That's
put
not
the
your
Barber
property.
Whitey's planted on the right.
Is it okay if I come to your house and put my canoe in your backyard? No.
Okay, don't touch the property of ours and don't go into our yard.
Don't put
I
your
mow the grass
property
here.
on the
I've done it
village
for
right of
30
way.
years.
That's over and done.
How long
Don't
ago
put it
was
on the
that?
village right of way.
How long ago was that? For the canoe? A couple weeks ago, I thought it was.
It was a couple of weeks that we
And then you went and mowed Bonnie's property, where we were trying to put our dock in, run your mower right past us, shooting grass on us. Why are you mowing private property?
Barb asked me,
Barb
she
asked
walks
you
through
Did you
there.
mow my private property then?
Sure, to my baby,
Well, why are you mowing Bonnie Drussel's?
as a favor, because I
Oh,
know she
as a
walks
favor.
through there with her dogs.
You don't send
I
a
was-
letter
I-
saying you gotta mow your
I
grass?
was mistaken under the impression that that was the village property,
Oh,
that it needed to be mowed, that it hadn't been mowed, so I was under the impression that it was the village property that needed to be cleared. There's a lot of people that walk down there,
yeah, that's what I thought. People
so
walk
I
the
just, that was my
shoreline.
mistake thinking,
I didn't have a problem with a couple
I
paths.
forgot that ours.
The only problem I had was when he was throwing his toolbox and stuff in front of me so that I couldn't continue to cut.
Jim, you
That
mowed
was the
over a
only
whole
problem.
line of milkweed and butterfly plants that we've been cultivating for 15 years to attract butterflies. Total disregard, you just ran them right over. The Water and Soil Conservation District came out and awarded us something for growing a butterfly garden in the
On
natural.
somebody else's property?
It's on Bonnie's property, she doesn't take care of it. You've never sent her a letter to take care of it, so she doesn't.
I thought you were cutting it. You told me that.
Yeah, I quit cutting it a couple of years ago. Okay?
Well, I was just trying to be a good neighbor. She asked me because she walks the dogs through there.
Well, you walk your house across the Oaks frontage, you want him to mow that too, Barb?
I just had said, I mistook it, I forgot that the village property ended, and that that was the Oaks property, and I mistook it, that was my mistake to think that that was still our property, that it needed to be cut, because, he had been mowing it previously, and he quit mowing it, so I thought it was a thing like, oh, well, the village did this to me, so I'm not gonna do this, so I assumed that it was ours, and it wasn't, it was my mistake.
Are you gonna send Bonnie Bruce a letter to take care of her property then?
No,
Oh, you're gonna keep taking care of it for us?
no.
Okay.
I'd like to circle back to your letter, Mr. Smith.
Yes,
Item 3, you were looking for written permission from the landowner, that being the village of Chippewa Lake, to secure your dock at a current location, but I'm requesting a copy of said document. Now, Michelson had a conversation with Holland,
Correct.
and Mr. Holland agrees that he could go across village property, yet reach his dock. Is that
And Bonnie Druscher's property, because that property is privately owned, but open for park and community use by the people of the village.
so? I guess my
To
point
get to
is,
his dock.
we have nothing to do with your certificate of liability
Community use.
and your approved dock application we have nothing to do with that. My point is, number three, you're asking for written permission of the landowner to secure your dock on this location. He could give you a letter that you can cross over village property to reach your dock, but that's about all that the solicitor could do for you on the context of this May 13th letter.
Right, but
Do
the
you
park
need
is
that?
asking me to prove that my dock is my dock. The very same park which issued me a plaque to screw
I
on the
can't,
end of my
again,
dock.
why we have no control of that.
Right.
Of your
What I'm
point
saying
three,
is
we can
anybody
give
with
you
a
a
dock-
written permission.
Anyone with a dock in Chippewa could be subject to the same questions, harassment, and legal threats.
Doesn't appear to be harassment. It looks like your liability insurance is.
It's paid every year
Right, okay.
by the same company.
Well, Jeff, that's really, you're gonna have to take it all up with the park district.
That I did, I took the name.
And anybody else that this happens to will have to do the same thing. It's not just
Right.
you. Any dock owner that has the same problem you have, it's between them and the park district. We have nothing to do with any of it.
Right. Well,
So we don't wanna waste your time anymore by having you
and I
be
won't
here.
waste yours.
tell
I'm
us
just
people.
saying that Nate Epping, the director, overstepped Donna Schrader, her wording, she handles the docks in Chippewa, right? Okay?
Administrator.
Well, he overstepped her to get to me to ask me why I have permission to get to my dock. And he could do that to anybody with any dock, whether your property abuts it or not. And he's denied two people on my dock who have lake rights, the right to have a sticker to dock overnight.
Well, I think I cleared it up with his lawyer, the
Yeah.
park lawyer, that you have the right to go cross property to get to your dock. As far as the dock itself, though, that's not really anything we can help with.
Right, but if the park wants to do that to everybody, and I think that's their intention, if you look at their master plan, you don't see our docks on it. They've done the same thing in Quarry Glen. All these people who had docks there made a removal. Yeah.
So Glory Glen has one dock that they control themselves, unlike ours, that everybody has different ones.
There were several independently owned docks in Gloria Glen. They're now gone.
I didn't know that.
Okay, well,
That's true.
again, we have nothing to do with any of these docks, so, that's about it. We can't do anything for you.
Okay. Good luck, Mr. Park.
Okay, is there anything else for zoning? Okay, Tabitha, community relations.
First thing I want to do is I want to thank Pam for organizing the Pride Committee to pass out our newsletter a few weeks back. Also, if anybody didn't receive it, it is available PDF format on our village website. You can read it there. And I know Katrina also shared it on the Facebook page for us techie people who maybe don't want to pick up this piece of paper, but they'd rather read something on their iPad. I did order the sound system so we can use it for movie night. It's gonna be here end of July, beginning of August. I got all pieces, parts, equipment that will be required and needed, so we can move forward with that. If we are fortunate enough to have some great weather to do a movie night before it arrives, I know the Pride Committee does have a system that we can borrow. Thank you for that as well. Fishing Derby is scheduled for the 25th. Of this month. We're moving it up to 10 a.m. I talked to a couple of parents last year who like to fish with their kids and they prefer to do it earlier in the morning because they feel the fish will be biting better in the morning versus the afternoon. We normally do a 1 o'clock start time, but we're gonna move it up to 10 o'clock and see how it goes. Hopefully weather is permitting. Last year's weather was kind of windy and the kids still had fun, but I think we caught 2 fish out of all the poor kids. And then Ken and I have been working on the CPR training, getting the kids organized to get them all together. We had it scheduled for this week on Thursday, but that is not panning out because all but 3 of our beach staff is unavailable because they're either on family vacations or they're out of town or they have something going on that day. We postponed it to the next week, still hammering down the date. If there's any extra spots, I have enough staff with the fire department that we can have up to 12 people. I think we only have is it 10 beach attendants?
10, yes.
Okay, we only have 10 beach attendants, so I guess if there is anybody else within the village that is interested, nobody fight over it, there's only 2 spots maybe available. Or if any of the kids or adults that are beach attendants that is open to are already certified and they don't need certified, we have room to add an extra few people into the class. The class will be here at the village hall, so it'll be easily accessible. So if you're interested, contact me or contact Ken. And,
Free of charge.
yep,
Can you let me know what that date is when we get it?
yes, right now, Cody's only date next week is gonna be Thursday. We just have not buttoned down a time. It was going to be this Thursday at 3 o'clock, but now this Thursday, does not work for us. So we're bumping it to next Thursday. I can guess that it'll probably be 3 o'clock, but I don't know that for sure.
Okay, the Historical Society is in here at 6 o'clock on Thursday.
Okay, we need to do it earlier. 3 hours.
And they probably will come in early to set up. I think they're having a guest speaker, so they'll probably come in early to set up.
Okay. I'll work out those details. Maybe it won't be next week, maybe it'll be the week after.
Well, you've got a couple options. EMA, if it's Station 2, may offer you space there and speak for Christina
Okay,
on that. And I know there's logistics getting there, but the fire department is a great exposure to these young people for what EMS and training and the type of things that are safety conducive, and for that inspires them.
okay.
We could work on transporting.
Well, I know that they can do it at the fire station, but most of our beach attendants are teenagers. They're mostly under the age of 16. So I wanted to make it easy for them to be able to get to the location without having to harass a parent or an older brother to drive them somewhere. That way, if they were really, really interested in doing this, they showed up here, it was on them that they showed up. Can you forward me her contact information? That way I can give her a call.
Christina Fazio, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, also in the message I got from Cody, it might be, he might be able to do Monday, but he'll let me know about that tomorrow, Barbara. What does Monday look like?
Garden Club.
Hmm?
Garden Club.
Okay. All right,
Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday.
are open,
Yes.
and he works a full-time job those days. Okay. Well, we're gonna revisit that,
Maybe the following week, that might be better, huh?
maybe. I will contact you too, Barb. I'm gonna include you in our emails. I had a text message going. I don't know if I'd be able to add you to that or not. And that's all I have, I think, for this month.
Okay, now, this month coming up, of course, we got the 4th of July, so there is a parade at 1. And, I'm assuming there's a ski show at about 5.
Yes.
Something like that. And then after that is the cardboard boat race, correct?
Right.
Okay. And this is all on the 4th, which is a Monday. You guys all know that, right? Okay, and also, did you want to say something, Pam, about these porch concerts?
Yeah, I was going to. So we started this porch concert series. We had 2 so far, and they've been very successful. We've had a good crowd. Everybody really seems to enjoy them. Our next one.
Well, it was supposed to be this Wednesday, but we moved it because the singer, his baby had his tonsils out today, so it was supposed to be this Wednesday. But then we bumped it to next Wednesday, and apparently a whole bunch of people in the village are gonna be here, so, we're trying to decide if we want to, substitute, or, we have 2 people lined up, Sean Nicholson and Tom Brady. So, not the football player, Tom Brady, the amazing singer he sings at the village. But, we're trying to fix a date, and we were discussing today, it doesn't have to be Wednesday, it doesn't have to be a different day.
We all go to the courthouse theater, there's a bunch of us, so it involves at least 20 people on next Wednesday. So I said, a good portion of those people attend.
If everyone could follow the village unofficial Facebook page, that's where we've been sharing the information.
And I've been sending it out with the pride, so, but it's really been, it's Lori Sacco and, Leslie have been really working hard, and, Lori, of course, purchased the, sound system for us, and has worked with, Doug Riley to get that up and running, so that has really helped, and we're now finding people that are coming to us. We have at least, Ed Navy is having one in his yard on, what date is that? August 13th. Our roosters are having one in their yard in July 27th, I think, and we will be sending out these notices. Some of these people are sponsoring the bands, other ones are doing it for chips only. So I think we're having a really good turnout. We just need to get it, out to the village. And I hope that most of those people are on Claire's list that.
Well, and even like this week, we decided it's gonna be 97 degrees on Wednesday. Most people aren't gonna wanna just sit outside and
Be
watch.
outside, it's so humid, so we really decided this is probably not a good Wednesday to do it. But so far, it's been very positive, so. And Tamitha, that day for Garden Club, it's not gonna be here, it's gonna be at somebody's house.
And that was the Monday, that's next Monday?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Tamitha,
Yes.
as a volunteer delivery person for your newsletter and so forth, several of us had very difficult times because people don't have their address on their house. They don't have a mailbox. They don't have a delivery box of any size, shape, or whatever. We've tried to leave the things on their door. Some people get them, some people don't. I don't know if you've got any complaints about them, but we might want to put out something somewhere that said, at least you people can put your address on your house.
I could also donate, I have like a flyer box that I use for real estate, and we could put one out front here, and we could put extra newsletters in the box and put that people could pick them up. I would donate one for sure.
Don't you
That would
put
be
that extra ones at the post office?
Yeah,
On the counter, that would be nice.
There we go.
we did, because there's people that have post office boxes and don't have mailboxes.
Right.
And so those are really hard when you're trying to go and deliver, because what they're doing is going around and delivering to the mailboxes, which on that day was a substitute mail carrier. And we think that she took some of those off, because it is illegal to even put them on the flag, which I found out. Our carrier is great, she doesn't care, she lets us do it. Wouldn't you know, that day was a substitute. So there was one street I know that did not get them, we made sure they got them, but I don't know how many other people, and if she realized what it was and then stopped doing it, because I know most people got them, but that, was an issue.
It is nice also being able to have it on a digital platform for people, since it is posted on our website.
Yeah.
People want to go read it, if they didn't receive it, it's accessible for people.
But I do think we could do something about this, putting the addresses where they're, some of these people, if there was ever a fire, they could not find your house.
Oh, Pam, I disagree with you. We have access to finding the locations. I think the.
Okay, then Pride has a problem.
I think the simple fix that we've used very successfully over time, post office, Goodlands, Minibar. If you don't know enough to go there and pick up an extra copy, there's a really good chance you're not gonna read it anyway. And if that's all you care about, staying informed of what's going on here, then you suffer the consequences. Those of us who want to know, need to know, and talk to each other about what's going on, it happens all day long, every day.
I'm just saying, when we pass out our awards, to people, and we're trying to find house members that coordinate with our awards, it's very difficult. I'm just saying, maybe start a little,
I'll give you a map.
I don't care about the map, I'm just saying.
Well, I'll give you a map and you can figure it out. It's,
I'm just saying, tell people
Right
to
there
put
in
their
your-
numbers on their house.
Okay, you
I know where the
two,
house is.
break it up, you two right now.
I'm just saying.
You might inquire, there was a time when the fire department actually passed out the house numbers. I don't know if they still do that.
I wonder that too, that's what I'm getting at, is there a way we can have them have numbers on their houses where you can tell, because they literally don't have numbers. I know where they are now, but it takes me a lot longer to figure it out, but I know most of them, but other people don't.
Not without an ordinance, and we're not an HOA here, so.
Yeah, no.
I see a lot of these, those round signs, blue and white signs, that say company makes them. I like them.
Yeah, but he's not cheap, the fire department's like $10.
I mean, maybe we just put it out with Claire's list, hey, if you don't have a number on your house, please help us and put a number on your house.
Well, and more importantly, help yourself in case you got fired.
Exactly, I mean, that's what I'm saying, it's just.
I think they'll be able to find it.
Don't say-
Or the Amazon guy can't find it.
And the Amazon people, they stop at us, we stop and talk to them all the time, tell them where the numbers are. They can't find it.
Okay. Yeah.
This is all.
Kim, is there two kids to this?
Next topic. Next topic.
Campus is on it, community relations. Okay, I see Lisa, is Mark here?
No,
Oh, so I guess we don't have anything from Save the Lake.
no.
You still saying.
Okay, we'll go to buildings and utilities, Barb.
Okay, so I think all the street lights that have been reported have been corrected. If anybody is aware of any other lights that are out currently. Bill Glassnap, I know that you had told me a couple weeks ago about a light being broken down by the beach. I was gonna connect with you and, some things happened and I wasn't able to do that, so I'd like to hook up with you and see what that is.
Okay, any data into the wire.
I'm on it. So I had mentioned last month about converting all of the lights in this building over to LED, through that NOPEC grant. So I do have an estimate here from Mars Electric for, $1,780.85. And that will replace all the lights from the ceiling, the sconce lights, the lights in the bathroom, all the rooms over here, the furnace rooms, every light in the building would be replaced with an LED light, comparable wattage. So, I just need to, I don't think I really need to encumber money since we're gonna go through the NOPEC grant. This just has to be submitted to NOPEC to see if it's approved.
Well, we're gonna have, other items that could possibly be used for the NOPEC grant, if you wanted to table it for that.
We're gonna talk about the NOPEC grant at some point. You wanna talk about it now? Because I know there's at least 3 things that you guys have come up with.
If you want, that's fine.
Sure.
And her point, well, we just got, right before the meeting, that we get that.
Well, I had mentioned that last month, I had mentioned that I was working with Mars to get the.
Yeah, well, and I'd sent an email out to council members looking for ideas. But there was, nothing was really coming forward. We have, Gary validated, there's $5,111 available, Gary.
That's correct.
I had $49.74 when I typed it up, but I did it both just till it could get it qualified. Barbie, if you could just take this and pass it. So there was, other things were bannered about from village council. One was possibly a backup generator for the village hall here in case something went down. And it's probably small enough that a Generac size, not a big commercial industrial, would be good enough. Talking to a person who did a Generac at my facility for this, some of you have the cost of the generator itself. It runs off the natural gas and hooks to the electrical system depending on what you want to power up. He'd given me an early read of, $10,000, but when I talked to him right before the meeting, he says, well, you probably ought to bump that to 12 just to be safe, because you've got probably 120 foot of electrical run to get to the box back here, and they set up a separate circuit that's gonna power whatever you wanna run. And they also mentioned that the gas meter sometimes has to be upsized to handle the capacity of the generator itself, plus whatever else might be operating on the building. So he was at 12,000, but we only have 5,000 and some change to spend on it, so we're well over budget there. There were other ideas, talking about just a portable generator of good size that could be used by the village itself for emergencies, for the village itself, and or if a house or you needed pumps, flooding and those kind of things. And you can get those in various sizes, up to, probably $8,000, but you can get something pretty good size for 5,000. Then recently, Mark Crossy came back, and Mark and Barb Hunter had been very active a couple of years back when we were doing the test model of LED lighting, replacing the high pressure lights with LED lighting along the Beachside Boulevard as a test element. We were recognized by NOPEC for that. And then these types of things have to be energy related, the grant qualification. And the information I got through Mark Crossy was that we can replace the LED lights at $209 each. So the top of this worksheet, did everybody get the worksheet? It was, if you took the $111, you could replace 24 LED lights throughout the village. So that accelerates our conversion over to LED lighting for energy saving. Right now, we're forced to, when a light goes out, we identify it, and Ohio Edison comes in and replaces it. I don't know, Barb, how many lights go out in a year?
Well, it's no cost to the village when it does happen.
That's true.
The lights are replaced for free if they're blinking, if they're out, or if they're on during the day, they're replaced.
How many lights would you?
We've probably replaced 9 already this year.
Do we know how many of the lights are in the village itself?
I do have that information somewhere.
Gary, when's our drop dead date on this? End of August or end of September?
For the monies to be used,
Yeah,
that I'm not certain.
I thought there was part of it, we have a drop dead date. Total amount available is the 511, but there was under $3,000, I think, that came that
I
we
thought it
were.
was the end of the year. I'll check.
So then now you have the issue of Barb, let's say $1,800 for the conversion of the LED lights in this facility. You just reduce your, from the 511, 1,800 and divide that out, so you might get 15 lights, just for conversation. So there's ways that, you can accomplish more than one task. I never really thought for replacement or a generator, backup generator to the village hall. There were some people understood that, oh yeah, if you had a catastrophe, you needed a safe place, that would provide it here, maybe once in every 10-year event. Hope never. The generator, the portable generator, the problem with that is it can be stolen or it gets legs. So there's always a theft issue that was brought up for that. The LED lights, that's a way of our conversion going over. We'd have to decide what streets or what areas get those lights replaced. So there's going to be some thought process into that. If we don't have to make a decision tonight for this. But,
So you could do a combination of the replacements of the lights in here and some new LED lights.
That's correct.
That would probably, hopefully save us money here and there, and generator, who knows?
Yeah,
I can't think of one instance so far here that we would have ever used that, but, you got places like, of course, I had the fire station right there, which would be kind of an emergency spot.
Correct.
And now we got FEMA there, and I know they show up during emergencies, so then possibly, if we ever had to do something like that, a building like that could be useful, could be an alternative, maybe
Yeah.
not, I don't know.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I think if, the two projects, this project here, and whatever funds were left over went to the LED lighting conversion would be a good, wise decision. I don't want to lose any of these funds.
Well, and then also I had contacted Ohio Edison about, they had, Ed, you had mentioned the Nest thermostats, and they were actually on sale like dirt cheap, but it was for residential use only. And I contacted them and asked if that would be possible to use them in our village hall. They said no, because it's not a residence, it's a business. So, I mean, I can just go up to Home Depot and get two Nest thermostats and include that into the LED light conversion. So
So you think,
those are probably, what, $100 a piece, $115 a piece, I think, at Home Depot. Yeah, there you go. See, I have no smart device, but I rely on people who do have smart devices.
Yeah. They're having a contest, you lose it up first.
That-
Gonna be Ed or Mark.
And I don't have to pay the bill. But that would bring it up to just a smidge over 2,000.
and you probably need a couple hundred for a buffer there, just in case.
Well, I have the quote from Mars, and that's a firm quote, which I don't really think that there's any need to buy extras because the light bulbs are supposed to live forever. And the emergency, that includes the emergency exit lights for the building. Those will be replaced as well.
Did you hear the voice from the crowd, $99 for the thermostat?
So $100 each.
They have different models. I mean, you're right, there is one for 99. The learning one is $199. So, but no more than $200.
Each. And in fact, I think I need to add, because I did forget to add that emergency exit light in Gary's office, so that would add an additional, I'll get an update the quote. Those are 86, basically $87 a piece, so we have to add one more.
But you're gonna have to get a smartphone if you get Nest thermostats, because you can control them.
There you go, Barb, that's the end of that.
I'll just walk up here like I usually do and do it manually.
I'm just doing back to the napkin real quick. Let's just say we move Barbara's up to $2,500 for just a buffer zone. That would leave you, 3611 divided by 209. That's roughly a little over 17 LED lights that you could purchase. So why don't we just, you want a motion where we'll set Mars Electric and get thermostats for the proper thermostats for this facility, and use the balance of money for LED lights from the tech grant.
Are you making that motion?
That's what I'd like to do, unless you want to table till next month.
How much are we losing at the end of this year? How much do we have to spend?
2020.
Okay, and then for the remainder, how long do we have to spend that?
1 to 2 years.
Okay. I would think we should do Barb's, the lights in here, the thermostats, see how many we can get replaced for free, as long as we can, and then spend that money maybe closer to the last minute on the street lights. Because free is better than spending anything.
Yeah, I don't want to lose any of I don't want to term out, I don't want to lose any.
Right, I understand that, but if we have an additional year on top of doing it all right now, when we could have gotten 6 free lights from Ohio Edison.
Oh, you probably got another 100 lights that have to be done in the village, I'm just saying out loud. So if you get 6, it doesn't really impact it, but that's one way of strategizing, so you time it out over time.
You just maximize the benefit.
So really, it would be a motion with that, it would be a motion to accept Barb's proposal from Mars Electric plus additional thermostats. Use the $2,500 would use up the available funds from NOPEC, is that right, Gary?
That's correct.
Okay.
So that's the motion made.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
And I'm sorry, don't recall getting an email to say that you're requesting.
I've done it at 2 meetings and I did one a couple weeks ago. So I apologize. I'll check my address, make sure I got it.
Okay, yeah, because I've been working on this for
Yeah.
over a month now, so I would have included it, I would have replied, I apologize. All right, so the lights and thermostats, I'll just get that updated with one additional, emergency exit light from your office.
Okay.
And then, I already cleaned the gutters out once, but I think finally those maple tree helicopter thingamajiggies are done, so I'll clean the gutters out again later this week. And,
Gonna wait till it's 100 degrees?
yeah.
Just check.
Use a magnifying glass and burn them out. And the only other thing I have, I believe, is that probably 3 or 4 times a week, somebody's coming in, variety of people are coming in, and they turn on this switch over here, which turns on the sconce lights, and they don't turn them back off. So if you're coming in the building and you use that switch, please turn the lights off when you're done, when you leave. And I can see who it is on the cameras, I'm not gonna pigeonhole people, but just please turn the lights out when you're done at the building.
I don't know who that was.
Oh, it's a variety. It's not any one person, so I think that's all I have.
On your cameras on the building, did you see anybody do anything funny to the teeter-totters?
I've not gone, no, I did not go back far enough.
Because Keith,
I noticed it.
and who? And Bob fixed the teeter-totter today because somebody had done
I
something.
saw that. Thank you
Well,
very much.
I emailed Kenny to let him know that it was broken again. So I noticed it a week ago.
I told Keith about it today, and within an hour it was fixed.
Okay, so I noticed it a week ago. I just,
And I had kids on here this afternoon that had a ball on, so.
Anyway, to see anything.
I will go back. I just haven't had time to look back that far.
And you know, it was funny because those teeter-totters they're heavy. And the pins that hold, those brackets were really solidly in place, but they were moved out. And I mean, to get them back in, you had to unloosen them. Somebody had some fun and somebody put some effort into analyzing that.
I saw it a week ago, but I didn't have time to go on the cameras to look to see that any farther back. So I will check that.
Yeah,
I'll have time this week.
I didn't realize it was vandalized. I thought it was somebody I thought it broke, but yeah.
Bill, were you able to hear me this evening? Bill,
What's that?
were you able to hear me this evening?
Yeah, sort of.
Just a point of order for Gary, with the NOPEC grant, I think we have to send our proposal to NOPEC to make sure it qualifies for the grant, and then you get through the paperwork back and forth.
That's correct.
I will, scan it in and send you the updated, and I'll get, do you maybe get an estimate from Home Depot also? Is that, you just want me to get an estimate from them?
Yeah, estimates will work.
Okay, all right.
Probably get that one offline.
Okay.
Okay, anything else, Barbara?
No.
Okay, we'll go to parks, Ken.
Well, I'll give beach updates. Obviously, the beach is up and running. We hired 10 beach attendants and a new beach manager, Kelsey Burns. She's doing a great job. Seems to be keeping everybody in order. Also, I don't know if everyone's seen up there, but we have the structure was erected and they're loving it. It's great. It's a nice structure, keeps the sun off everybody. And of course, the wall was sandblasted and painted. The old benches were removed and we replaced them with nicer, newer benches that are more functional. The sheds were painted. So far, we sold 101 ramp keys, 155 lake access passes, 142 boat stickers, and 17 free parking passes. We didn't sell the parking passes because they're free. Valley View, our mosquito guy, came out one time in the month of May. One was rained out, and the other day that it comes out is a holiday. And tennis court updates. A local family donated a new fence, so we don't need to paint and repair the old one, so that was great. It's a really nice fence too. And then of course the surface cracks have been filled. And well, Keith fixed the teeter totter, I had that down here.
And Bob.
And Bob, okay. I can't forget about that guy.
We were playing on the teeter totter today.
Good. And update for that, our future park on Briarwood, the 12 trees were removed. The next step is to fence it in and then take it from there. And that's all I have really.
Okay, John Sandor called with an update on the tennis fence just before the meeting tonight.
Yeah.
And the lady that donated that fence, I guess I was under the impression she was hiring a fence guy, but she's not. We have to get somebody that will take her fence out, bring it down here and install it here. So he has called numerous fence places and most of them are not interested in doing that job. He's got one that he's gonna call him back, and he also decided to try to go a different direction. So he asked Chris Wozak if he'd do it, and he's waiting for Chris to get back to him.
Oh, okay,
We
yeah.
gotta
no
get
problem.
this fence squared away before we can tell him to deliver the courts.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe a fence company is not exactly who we need here.
I guess I know we had a phone call out to fix a fence and Forever Fence wasn't interested in.
Fix the Fence said no,
Well, they said no too.
and the
Everyone's work.
guy you had here last year, he said no. I don't know, I guess they don't wanna take one out and put it back in, so maybe some kind of contractor is more who we're supposed to do.
Maybe Keith and Bob.
Don't even say it, because they'll be doing it tomorrow, and killing themselves.
No, I'll give some thought to that.
So John is waiting, he's got a couple places that, we're supposed to be calling him back, so he's gonna let us know. As soon as he knows, but that's where he's at today.
I think it's a really nice fence. So, yeah. Good, yeah.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah,
Do the beach attendants have to live in the village?
no.
Okay.
And we prefer them to, just for access,
Yeah, right,
because they walk and,
We don't have no kids in the village, that ain't true.
I know, but I was asking.
we might have enough, but, I mean, hours they drop off.
Yeah.
Here, so.
By July 4th,
You what?
by July 4th, they'll.
Yeah, yeah.
Debbie used to have that job.
Yeah.
What?
Debbie used to be in charge of
No, I know, yeah, I remember.
So we all know how it goes.
And your son.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we'll go, does anybody have any questions for? Okay, streets, Keith?
All right, I have a couple of questions for you. On streets, a lot of these quotes come. Several of the contractors quite nebulous in, we'll take care of the potholes, the cracks, we can do that, no cost. While if we get the road job and the ramp job, several other companies did a more thorough appraisal of it. And I thought it was quite legitimate. Can we disregard some of these quotes that
Well, the
are
quote-
very nebulous?
Yeah, if the quote isn't all-inclusive, covers the subject. And if you've asked for deadlines and they don't give them, those things are called a non-compliant bid.
Okay.
And you also are allowed to choose the lowest and best bid. You can take into account experience, references, the way the bids are put together. So there's more latitude than most people think.
Okay. So then I'd like to submit the bid for most, their local outfit. They were the companies that did all the asphalt work on Clover Cliff. Did a real nice job, worked overtime to get the road in before the weather came. So the people on Clover Cliff didn't have to enjoy a mud slide for the winter. Very good to work with. Very nice job. I have it broke down and in various ways. And okay, so the bid that I like is from the most company, and they have the bid of $15,125 to do a 3-inch layer on the top and then put a 3-inch layer over the top. That's $15,125, 45 tons of material. Quite a lot of material. Briarwood Boulevard from Lake Road to Rustic Brook, mill, tap coat, mill the headers, to the existing roads overlaid with 2 inches up to 365 tons of material, $40,345. All pretty nice figures. And this company was very good. It probably took about 2.5 hours driving through the village to enjoy all the potholes and the cracks that need sealed and all that. And I lost the square footage they showed. Okay, miscellaneous package, square footage, 20,122 square feet, and that comes in at $58,685. Total price, $114,155. And I would like to submit that bid for the road company. They have good references. They took the time to do a very good study of the roads. And there's a 3-page list of all the potholes and cracks to be sealed.
Okay, and you also wanted to, I know you have the walkway included in that amount, and, talked about taking the walkway out of the inheritance money for 15,000. So would that mean you're only asking for basically 100,000 from?
Yeah, I'll settle for that.
Now, you already asked.
This is the best price. You can get it from the inheritance, you can get it from the street fund, and that leaves us enough money to apply next year for grants. That's the important thing.
Now, you've already appropriated,
35,000.
didn't you do it twice? Because last month it said you appropriated 35 for the walkway, which will be not what that's for.
Right, last month he appropriated 35,000.
And a couple months before that, he also did, didn't he?
That's correct.
So you've already appropriated $70,000.
Okay.
So you're saying you need another 30?
I just want my total to come out. 114,155.
No. Well, okay, so the 114,
From either account, it really doesn't matter.
okay. So he takes 15 out of the,
Inheritance?
then he's down to 100.
Mayor, can I suggest that we negate the previous 2 asks and simply deal with this one and eliminate the math?
It's pretty simple math, but
The appropriations are, Gary or.
a person idly reading the minutes would
You can't
take it a lot
appropriate.
better if you only gave him 30,000 than 100.
Well, all I was thinking, we finally reached the end figure. The other 2 previous figures were work in progress. We've surpassed that. Let's wipe that clean and deal with what we have in front of us.
So what do you do with the 2 that he already requested?
Just negate them.
Gary?
Well, I'm gonna just comment.
You can.
When you go through the audit flow, they're gonna look at your appropriation as you go. So the auditors, just like we went through there, they would look at those, and then you're gonna see a reversal. And then you're gonna see another where you add in a big chunk. So I'm agreeing with you, the math works. But I agree with it.
That's big dollars.
But the previous two appropriations, that money is gonna be included in this total. Then you just need to appropriate an additional amount.
Actually, the last one,
That's
according to
fine.
the minutes, the last one was for the walkway.
Right.
I don't care, I just try to clean it up.
It's a difference of 45,000.
It's really just 30. The 15's coming out of the trust.
Right, and so that,
100,000 is coming out of the other stuff. You already put 70 into that, so you really need to appropriate 30,000 to get to your 100.
Yeah, the trust should be part of this.
That makes sense because that'll show the appropriate amounts in and then out when the contract.
well, what about the part in the minutes where it says the money he got last month was for the walkway? So the money he's getting this month, basically the 100,000 is not gonna include the walkway, because the walkway will be on the
Jerry,
inheritance.
wouldn't it be
At
similar
15,000. You know what I'm
for
saying?
you and your capacity, draw a big red X through that, put a footnote with it, and then the only thing we're dealing with is right here.
Gary would know how to do that. Not do that, but how do we deal with this thing?
I'd rather, it's not a big deal if we change, you know, the pathway that was appropriated last month for 35,000.
Right.
You know, and let me just see what else I said. The beach parking lot. Yeah, last month that money was appropriated for the park, the walkway and paving the ramp leading from Bungalow Bay to beach parking lot. That's how it was appropriated last month. So we talked about the pathway in here, what about that, Bungalow Bay, the beach parking lot, is that?
That's all in that 15,000.
That would be included in the patching.
Okay, so we actually over appropriated last month for that. Right. All right. From an audit point of view, I've got no problems making this right with the auditor, just appropriating the balance of monies to.
Okay,
And I'll work it out with the auditor, it should not be a big deal.
you're not a nightmare, welcome to it.
Yeah.
So basically, they should be appropriating
The
30,
difference.
the difference, and do they specify that 15 of it will come out?
Yeah, I wouldn't even go that far, I just appropriate the difference and cover the various sections that haven't been covered yet. And then that way, when you consolidate all the monies, everything's covered.
Can you send us a breakdown of that when you finish that? Yeah.
Breakdown of how the numbers work, where they're
Yeah.
going. Sure, yeah.
Thank you.
So when you do tonight's appropriation, just make sure you cover everything. That way, what's been previously appropriated and tonight will all come together.
Keith,
Okay?
in your opinion, then your recommendation is this most paid bid is the lowest and best?
It's the best, yeah.
Okay.
Because other companies, when they're saying, oh, we can take care of those potholes for free, you're taking a lot of material.
So we
a
can-
lot of material.
Right.
And
Can you give me the breakdown of the list of the potholes, whatever else specific you got, so I can put it in the contract?
He's already got 7.
He's got 70, right, so you need to basically.
that's all.
45 is what you
I'm actually a little bit-
And then you sort it out, take it from there.
Take care of the people.
Okay, you need a motion for
My
45.
No, Keith, are you aware of the holes that are by the Cave Creek Bridge?
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Okay.
And to bring you up to date on that, we pumped, somewhere around 80 gallons of dye down that, and finally got a little bit of some of that to ooze out through. There is a sinkhole down there, and all we have to do is excavate a little bit of the top where it looks like there was a patch before, and then seal the crack or wherever the joint is that's having the water, when we get the high water up against the bridge, it forms a suction and it just sucks that material out. So we just need to get that sealed with some concrete and then bring that up to, town code docs and that.
I just didn't know if you were aware of it and it would be included in anything.
Well, and part of it is there's a sleeve that goes through the bridge. And there's a gas line, a 2.5-inch gas line that goes through that sleeve. That sleeve is what has the crack in it, and that gas line is a substandard gas line, but it will not be vacated until 2024. So we've got 4 years before they replace that line and vacate this one. So that's why we'll be looking into the best way to.
2004 minus 2022 is 2 years, not 4.
Oh, I'm sorry, no, two.
I just wondered if you were maybe.
No, I just get crazy counting potholes.
Gotcha.
Okay, so you need to make a motion for $45,000.
Well, a motion to accept this bid.
A motion to accept.
Well,
And then.
yeah, and you need 45,000 more. Gary's gonna sort out where it comes from.
Okay.
That's what I moved then. Yes, so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I can drop a contract then and send it to most people. Okay, good.
And this money now, let's list the items all this money's covering. It's gonna cover, we're gonna cover everything we've got on this list, right?
And the other 5 sheets that have all the
Right.
potholes and.
Yeah, those are good. Pretty easy.
Do I have the 5 sheets?
He's only showing you one, so,
Well, it's-
where do you get the other 5?
So it's gonna cover everything on these sheets. So that appropriation is for the work on the.
For Broward Boulevard, all those potholes and.
Actually, Ellen has all that information there.
I'm gonna put it on the contract, attach it to the contract, a big list of potholes.
I think that's
Their
great.
description of all the components.
See, he was the only person that cared enough to put that down.
Yeah,
And you know, when you get nebulous figures, oh, sorry, you're not taking care of this much. Well, that's not everything I had in mind, maybe what you had in mind. But now we have what we both agree on.
well, I'll send it to most paving and you can sign it and share it. And take it from there.
Do these monies include the McCade Creek you just talked about, or is that in addition to?
Oh, that's not even involved in this.
That's not part of this? Okay.
That one, I don't know what that
That'll be extra.
When you do that pathway out of the endowment, that brings the endowment down to about 27.5 as remaining monies. So that's where you're at, about 27.5, uncommitted.
Okay, anything else for streets, Keith?
Now the bid.
Okay, then we'll go to the law director, please.
Okay, I have, one case in court right now, and it is, the charge is violation of a protective order, and it's scheduled for a pretrial conference on Wednesday, June 15th. Are you gonna, get to the?
Yeah, I guess we'll do that in,
Okay, then that's all I have to report right now.
Gary, finance?
When was that date again?
June 15th. And it's a pretrial conference between the attorneys, not.
Okay.
All right.
All right. On Saturday, I distributed the bank reconciliation for the report for May, month of May, reporting that everything's in balance. Are there any questions or comments? I have a motion to sign off on the bank reconciliation report.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I also delivered to council the appropriations report for May. Do you have any questions, comments about appropriations through May 31st? May I have a motion allowing council to sign off?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, I did distribute the uncommitted fund balance for the endowment fund on Saturday to council. And Ken pointed out a mistake that I had made on the park portion of it, so I'll correct that, get a revised number out to council. We talked about the $5,111, so I won't talk about that. I did not receive any changes from council to the 2023 budget. I did make some changes, but to the general fund only, based on spending trends thus far in 2022. I increased the general fund budget by $13,000, or basically a 4.7% increase. Are there any questions about the 2023 budget?
What was that increase again, Director?
$13,000, 4.7%. I'll give you what the increases were in if you need to know.
No.
Okay. So, having said all of that, may I have a motion approving the 2023 budget for submittal to the Medina County Auditor's Office?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, thank you. I'll get that out to them tomorrow. Our 2020 and 2021 audit was completed as of Thursday, June 9th, with two minor discrepancies pertaining to our record request procedure and record retention training. The two discrepancies are,
We were trained.
what?
We were trained.
You were trained? No, you
Yeah, you
didn't.
had that whole 5-minute meeting with us.
That's not it. It's the intense training you didn't have.
Oh, so we get 15 minutes next.
So anyways, those are easily resolved. Alan, I'd ask you the question, do we need to make a motion to include council to appoint the fiscal officer as the representative to take all necessary record retention training required by the auditor of state's office?
Yes.
We do need
You're
that
willing.
motion. Okay,
Oh.
I can repeat it if you need more discussion on it.
No.
Better
No,
understand.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
And this is going to come up now every year on our annual organizational meeting, January of each year. It has to be voted on. Okay.
What does?
We just voted on now.
Who goes to the training?
Yeah,
Every year, somebody's gotta go to the training?
you have to appoint me every year.
Right. But he's
How
taking
much
the
does that
gospel.
change in a year?
Oh, you'd be surprised.
Come on, you're a government entity, you understand.
Bureaucrats can.
Yeah, our motto, we throw nothing away, so that way we're okay.
The second part of that was revising our record request procedure. Alan, that was that little thing I sent to you, where
Yes,
she wanted to change the wording.
I think that's a typographical change. I'm just gonna change it.
Okay, so we don't need a motion on that?
It's just the wrong word.
Okay, so you'll send me a revision, please?
Will do.
Then I can get it to the auditor and we'll be clear about that.
Right.
Any questions on the audit?
Is that the only things they found wrong?
Right.
Well, then you've been doing a great job.
Yeah. Thank you.
Nickel, what you raised?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask for more pay. No, the financials came out fine, no issues with financials.
I really appreciate what Gary does and the extent that he does it at, because he's very attentive in the right places, and obviously by just those minor things in the audit, you always anxiety about audits, but I feel very comfortable where we are. And so thank you, Gary, very much.
Thank you, I appreciate that from everyone, thank you. First time ever, I think, for the village. I'm now having an audit on the Bureau of Workers' Comp scheduled next week. Never had one of those in my 10 years of doing this. So on June 21st, we have a BWC audit.
We just contribute to that, right?
We contribute to that, yes. We pay them. And this is going to cover all of 2021 payroll records, 1099 tax forms, and federal income tax records.
And how much is that gonna cost?
I don't know yet. I don't know what the cost of that will be. Any questions on that? I'll update everybody once the audit is done. I don't know how long that will take.
So that's really just your payments in the Bureau of Workers' Comp, and they're auditing it back against,
All payroll records,
all payroll.
including beach attendants. It might be the beach attendants that kicked us into it, because we hired quite a few over the years, 10 to 13 each year. So it's quite a few records. They just want to have a look-see at everything, make sure the books are not being cooked. Everything's okay. So that'll be next week, Tuesday. First aid training, we spoke about, you haven't had that yet. You will get a list put together though of everybody who's there, as well as if you purchase a first aid kit, I'll need that receipt as well.
He said he can type me up an invoice and email it, so I can email it to you once we have the number, the head count, how many people will be here.
That'd be great, because I need that to back up the grant.
Yep.
Okay. As of today, we do not have a memo of understanding between the village, Medina County, and Engineering Associates on Phase 9. Is this an issue?
Not if we get it done.
Right, but the timing of it's what I'm worried about, because is Engineering Associates doing any engineering work for Medina County? Is it incorporated in our drawings, which usually it is?
Well, we went over that with Josh the other day. We did a walk down the road to re-evaluate the grades, storm sewer placement, and there are multiple changes.
Okay. But if he starts to do engineering work for the Medina County, I think we want that memo of understanding put together pretty quick. Because he's already doing engineering now, he's already doing it.
Right, so that would be with sanitary engineers and the gas company. There was a very nice young man came through a couple of days ago and was telling me that they're going to be putting in new plastic lines throughout the village for gas.
Including the area where Phase 9 is going to be worked?
Including Phase 9 where we're going to be working, and
Okay.
Phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, they're going to be working on those roads.
My concern is without that memo of understanding, we don't want us, the village, to get hit for any of those engineering costs that they're doing for those, and those,
All right, and the last project where the county, the sanitary engineer's office generated the memo,
okay,
so we should follow up on that.
okay,
I can follow up.
okay. Yeah, because I've copied, I think I copied the county, maybe I didn't on this one.
Yeah, we had input into that MOU, if I recall correctly.
That's right.
Yeah, we went over.
But with this underway now and well along in engineering, I think we better get that in place pretty quick,
Yeah, I agree with you, that's on the mark.
so we don't have any cost issues.
I'll give him a call.
Okay, thanks. I just found out that the state legislature finally approved the payment of the second installment of the ARPA monies. We don't have those monies yet. I'll let council know once those are deposited.
Okay. When do you think that might happen?
Hard to say, because they didn't, when they've already, what do? They quit for the summer, stopped for the summer. They didn't specify when payments would be released.
So how much would that money be?
That would amount to
Like
about $34,000,
How much?
about 34,000.
Total, about 78.
Total is 78, that's correct. 78,292.
We spent.
So we've only got 34,000, they owe us another 34,000.
And we got previous money from before. that we have yet to spend.
We got the first installment, that's correct. Out of the first installment, we only spent 4,107.95.
Thought we were more like 6.
So are there any restrictions on that funds?
No, they very much damn near eliminated all the restrictions. Don't be spending that money.
Yeah, remember, last month I said we reclassified everything last month, so we get out of a lot of those severe restrictions. Yeah, so you can use it for street repair.
Oh, we could always.
There you go. Right. We reclassified it to standard allowance. And by reclassifying it to standard allowance, it tremendously eased up all the regulatory requirements and reporting. It really simplified reporting, thank goodness. That was going to be a mess. Okay, any questions, comments on ARPA? Okay. As of May 31st, the balance in the primary checking account was $220,697.58. Money market, $250,102.36. Star Ohio, $193,378.75. For a total of $664,178.69. Any questions on the monies? Okay, that's all I have.
What about the levy ordinance? Yeah. I've got it here.
Okay.
Can I talk about that?
Yeah, that's on the tax valuation.
Yeah, you've got 2 levies that go up for a vote every 5 years, basically. One is the roads levy, and that isn't up for renewal or change until 2023 and 2024. One is for operating expenses, current expenses of the village, and that one can be renewed this November or next year. And so you asked me to find out how much it brings in. It was originally 6 mills. It was replaced, renewed, and now it's bringing in $96,000 a year. And the auditor's office tells me if you renew it, it brings in $106,600. And then if you renew it with an increase of 1 mil, which is what you asked me to check on, that's $20,600 more.
Can you repeat that?
20,000. One new mill, increase of 1 mil brings in $20,600 more, plus the renewal, which is $106,600. So I've got an ordinance asking the auditor, this is something we have to do to put it on the ballot, for the tax valuation of the village and how much would be generated by renewal of the 6 mil levy or renewal with an increase of 1 mil. And what they do when they get this is they give us 2 papers, one that shows the income for one and one of the other, and you have to decide next month.
Okay, so from last year to this year, a ton of asphalt has gone from $45 a ton to $85. And your labor charges are basically the same. I mean, there's a little tweak here and there on some of that. But the big cost on the road work, and that is your asphalt and the materials there. And this is a good time to say thank you to all the people that vote yes for these road levies, or else, you'd be driving on stones. It'd be horrible. Also, part of the nice deal is we can get our road work done through Lafayette Township, and we get that at a very nice hourly rate. And the real wonderful savings is most of your contractors, private contractors that are plowing and sawing, they're paying like $85 per ton, and we're getting it at 24 because we're getting it through to a municipality, and a 5-ton truck doesn't do 10 seconds. So, it's nice to be able to be hooked up with Lafayette Tunnels, have an agreement with them, and also have enough money to not only repair the roads, but also maintain them and do their job in solving. And again, I can't say enough. Thank you to the taxpayers. Take care of that $6 million.
6 mil is not all for roads, it's operating funds.
Yeah, I like the slice of that.
Yeah. So, should I go ahead with this, the reading of this ordinance to get the necessary paperwork for next month from the county auditor?
Yeah.
Okay, this is, what's the ordinance number here?
873-22.
Okay, this is the first reading of ordinance number 73-22.
Excuse me, 873.
I'm sorry.
873-22.
873-22, first reading by title only. An ordinance requesting that the Medina County Auditor certify to the Village of Chippewa the total tax valuation of the village and the revenue that will be generated by renewal of the existing 6.0 mil current expenses levy and the revenue that would be generated by a renewal of that levy with an increase of 1 mil and declaring the same an emergency. Somebody make a motion to suspend the, waive the second and the third reading. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Somebody make a motion to pass ordinance number 873-22 as an emergency.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Very good.
Thank you.
That's all I had.
Gary, are you done?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay, now, is there any old business?
Yes. We want to talk about McCabe Creek. And I'm asking, I want to make a motion to spend $15,800. As soon as I get the report out, Randy takes a bit.
I sure hope that's not McCabe Creek.
For one more heavy rain.
As you recall, we got off to a bumpy start last month. This is correspondence from Cunningham and Associates. Nils Johnson forwarded this correspondence. I don't have, the net cost is $15,850. This money would be, you would use ARPA money to pay for this. This is to do everything that you see reflected on the report so that we can then proceed to secure funding for the necessary repair of approximately.
Roll back down, I haven't finished reading it.
What do you want to be, big boy?
Go too hard.
So this is just the analysis.
It's engineering.
This, what you're looking at is a report to me from Nils Johnson, who is a civil engineer for Cunningham and Associates, to do the study of McCabe Creek at the point where we have an erosion problem, so that we can stabilize that bank appropriately and curtail any further erosion, because immediately behind where it's eroding, we have a water main and we have a road bed. So This study will encompass about 100 linear feet. And it's only the engineering study. This is something of a ballpark, but we had to have some kind of dollars in front of us to talk about 100 linear feet in today's world. He extrapolated data from previous work done years ago in different applications. So what we don't know and what Nels cannot tell me is what the engineering solution is going to be. It could be one thing, it could be two things, or it could be a smorgasbord of multiple things. And he's not going to know that until he does the work. So what will happen next? Council members got stuck on the cost, and they asked me, why is this different from what happened in the past? And I didn't have an answer for that. One asked. So I did some more research. And what happened in the past? A little too far. Okay. Is we had significant storm damage previously, years ago. And if you're familiar, everybody here is familiar with Jan Harmon's home. It's kind of a reference point. If you look at the far bank, we had a significant erosion problem there, which the village paid for, lock, stock, and barrel.
On the side of the creek, on that side.
On the Park Lake side. And then EMA came knocking on our door and said, you realize that we have applied to the state disaster fund because there are a number of communities within Medina County who sustained substantial storm damage. And we can't make you whole, but we can help you with your repair costs. So there was a match requirement, which we satisfied, which represented about $10,000. And then we got a $40,000 benefit as a result of that.
Excuse me, but are you talking about those concrete?
I'm talking about the riprap that Chris put in place on the far bank.
Okay, that had nothing to do with Jan Harmon.
But the only thing I mentioned, Jan Harmon, no, it did not. I'm just giving you a frame of reference where to look.
Just where it is.
Where it is. It's a location.
Where it is.
Yes.
Right across the street from 204 Parkway.
Has nothing to do with Jan Harmon.
Okay.
That was really a gabbing project, not a riprap project.
Well, it's more like riprap. Okay, I'm not gonna argue about it. So today, extrapolating Mel's experience in today's world, he estimates it's going to be $110,000 to $120,000 in repair costs. That's a big nut to crack. So we will go looking for money to manage the repair costs. But you need to understand, if you don't have a professional engineering analysis of a problem, you're not going to get any money from anybody. Further, this is a FEMA designated floodplain. You shall have a permit. Other permit requirements may include Ohio EPA, FEMA, ODNR, Medina County itself, which is another reason that you want to have a professional engineering study done. That's kind of a specialized field within the area of engineering. So I'm asking the village for $15,850. And I'm making a motion to that effect.
Barb, did you have a question?
Yeah, how many feet was repaired across from Harmon's property? How many feet of, do we know that?
Not offhand, I'd say probably.
All right, let me put up another,
But could I say this a different way? When I originally asked you to work on this, the basic idea was there was erosion going on there, and rather than be caught with not a plan in sight, if that road happened to cave in, I asked you to find a plan. Now, according to the information you've sent out to everybody,
yes,
none of this, a plan really cannot be made without this engineering study.
that's true.
So you get the engineering study, and then you know what you have to do, but that doesn't mean you're gonna do it, because who knows how much it's gonna cost, you might have to get grants, but you would have a plan in place rather than start from scratch, if that road really is that bad, you're gonna fall in someday. So with that in mind, and reading through what Bud said, it sounds to me, I might be wrong, that we need this study just to see what we have to do, and then if it's some outrageous amount of money, we probably won't be doing it, but we can look for money to do it, things like that.
Well, my point is, my very smart friend, Mark Rossi, I asked him to poke about and see if he could find grant money. He immediately asked me for what's the engineer's summary.
So, to those of you that asked the same question I asked to him, how do we know if we get this study that we'll even have the money to do it? We don't. But it's a way of knowing at least where you're going with it. So, I guess that's why I guess it makes sense to get the study.
I guess I'll put it to you this way. Either pay me now or pay me later. And if we wait till, just a minute, if we wait till the bank erodes and we expose the water main and we lose our road bed, bend over and grab your ankles, because you're gonna pay some serious money to make that repair. If we do it now, it's at least in the doable range for us. There's a lot of grant money out there floating around, but you have to know how to look for it. And you can't look for anything without having the nuts and bolts of this report. Simple as that.
Did you want something, Mark?
A couple of things came to mind. I'm agreeing with Bud, we gotta do something. Is Cunningham and Associates the only engineer firm you got a quote from to do the study?
Interesting, you should ask. There were 5. I had detailed conversations with 3 of the 5. Nels, Cunningham and Associates was the only one to respond.
Okay. And then the other spot was FEMA took care of a good portion of that.
It was not FEMA, it was, State Disaster Services.
So it's still a government agency.
Yeah, but.
This spot's just as bad as that one was. Can we go to them first? And we didn't have to go through a study to get there. And then the third thing, let me finish. The third thing is there is a water line there, so isn't the water department interested in this as well?
I don't know.
Well, should we?
Hey, dude, if you want to sit down and look at my detailed inquiry into this matter,
Send it to me.
I'll be glad to do that.
Send it to me.
Glad.
I'm just asking questions, but
I understand you're asking questions.
I mean, I'm the guy that brought it up. Nobody know about it if it wasn't for me. So
we need to start with the engineering report. That's what I want to get done first. Whether or not we have other players engaged.
I just hate to see us spend $16,000 on something that somebody else might take care of.
Dude, we're spending federal money.
I don't care where it's coming from.
Well, good.
Once it's in our coffers, it's our money. It's not theirs.
I don't want to spend money that's not necessary. I
I'm
agree
trying to
with
save
you,
us money.
but I think this
I mean,
is.
everybody at this table up here is very fiscal responsible, except you. You're the one that keeps blowing all this money.
Mark, you're out of line.
Sorry.
Thank you. we're trying to do a good job for everybody.
You are, and even Bud is, even though him and I disagree all the time. We all might.
But we're trying to come to a consensus.
Right.
So, but my point on the, I don't disagree with it, Cunningham coming in, but my vision is he's coming in, charging us $15,000 to look at 100 feet, when what's the next 200 feet up the stream going? And when I look at it, I said, boy, you got all this embankment being developed from all the erosion down there, it's creating a more, out that island that's being created out there, creates more hydrology effect upstream. So, there's things, and we can, when we're looking at funds, we're gonna have to look, and it's a serious number, but with the park district trying to do what they're doing with the lake, we can piggyback the emotions of that for funding that. So it's gonna be a challenge, but we don't have enough to get 120 right now. We just got limited money, but we gotta start someplace.
It's, the engineering study provides the genesis of securing funding. McCabe Creek represents a 1,500 acre watershed. There's a drop in elevation from its headwater to the lake. Sorry. Of 150 feet.
You realize that's a 64th per foot, 64th of an inch
I-
per foot.
And I also recognize that there's this considerable residential development. So the increase of hardscape allows the water to get here very, very, very quickly.
I grew up here, I understand how fast it
Okay, well, good. I'm glad you understand. I'm trying to be, wise with my money. I have zero cause and effect over the price. It costs what it costs, boys and girls. I have federal ARPA money whose original origin was for stormwater management as one of its key points. I'm not spending village money, I'm spending government money. I don't care how you want to look at that. If you think I'm being wasteful, that's your opinion. I'm trying to get business done. And I'm tired of being stuck because we don't have the study. We need the study. It's as simple as that.
We'll make your motion.
I did.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
So moved.
There you go.
I don't think $15,000 is a huge amount of money for what has to be done. Just dealing with the real world and engineering fees and everything else, so I think it's, probably money well spent.
Thank you.
Gotta be done.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any other old business?
I have some new business.
Well, we aren't, did I say new business? Old business. Now we're going to the audience, our fun part, audience. Mark? Leslie?
I have nothing.
Ed?
Two quick ones. So I'm just curious, with Barb, are you actually cleaning the gutters?
I'm sorry?
I heard you say you're cleaning the gutters on this building.
She did say that, yeah. She just did it a couple weeks ago. She didn't do it again.
Can we put money into gutter guards or something? Because I hate for you to fall.
It's okay.
She likes to clean the gutters. We had this discussion twice now.
I'm just saying, I just.
One of her specialties.
Gutters are.
Usually do this one and then I go across the street and do her gutters too. It's okay. Someday I won't be able to do it and then we'll try some other plan. But I can, so I will.
All right, just trying to help you.
Thank you.
The other quick question is, I sent an email about the drain, is that the village or, so when it floods, that there's a drain, at the end of Bass Bay?
Into the lake, right at the, on the wall.
And I just had a picture about it, is that, do I contact, is that streets responsibility, or do I have to, do water and sewer, or I don't know, it's just, it is clogged pretty bad.
It's full of sticks and debris, and it's a circle this big, and it's full to the top.
Yeah, he sent a nice picture of it.
Right.
There's more than one of those along that wall, isn't there?
Yeah.
What if the other ones are clogged up that bad?
Further north, but I don't know, I'm just wondering, is it in the right, you said thank you for sending it, but I don't even know if it's the village's responsibility, is my question.
There's
For
always
which drink?
It's
those big drains going in.
Sounds like
It's in a brick wall.
Yeah, it's village
Drains into the
responsibility.
lake through a brick wall.
I think it's part of the stormwater system. But it is, that's my question, because it's part of the stormwater, I mean, I don't know, I'm just trying to help to get it removed. I did remove some big branches out of it, but it goes back quite a few feet. And I don't really feel like climbing all the way in there.
And you shouldn't, because there were snakes coming out of it yesterday.
Oh, now nobody wants to go in.
There were snakes, we watched 2 snakes slither right out of it and swim on down towards, Stevenson. Yeah.
Well, why don't you give me a call next week and we'll take a look at it together.
I mean, I'll help clean it out, and I don't know, who's responsible, is it, you know,
That's, that's.
It's the village's responsibility.
Villages.
You would have to sign a waiver.
There's a lot of things.
For volunteers, so they're not responsible. for being hit by snakes.
has that ever happened in the past?
It probably has, but nobody's ever mentioned it that I recall.
Or maybe it'll just get flushed out eventually with more rain, we don't worry.
Next storm.
All right, never mind.
The next door.
Moving on.
Anything else? And
Oh, I have a couple of other things.
are you in the audience? This is their turn. You can wait. Andy,
But I didn't bring up the signs. I get clarification on what's allowed for signs. I think we all realize, there was a big discussion, I think a year ago, about garage sale signs, which everyone agreed that could be having for one day, but the Airbnbs, are we allowing signs in the yards around the houses for advertising Airbnbs and vacation rentals?
What Andy is talking about, there's a property that sits at the end of Shadywood and Buffalo Bay Drive. And next thing you know, it was advertisement for a weekend rental as an Airbnb and pontoon cruise rides. Captain. And I had a casual conversation. I said, dude, you can't be putting those signs in your yard.
That's on his house.
So he promptly removed them from the yard and screwed them fast to his house. Alan, you might as well share with the crowd what's going on in the House bill.
Yeah, there's now, well, just Brunswick has outlawed Airbnbs by adopting a minimum 30-day rental, so that eliminates them. Gloria Glenn's has had huge discussions with people for and against, so they're gonna put it on the ballot in November as a referendum initiative ordinance. And in Columbus, there's a bill that was introduced that would forbid local government to regulate Airbnbs, short-term rentals. I mean, you could regulate building standards and all that, zoning codes, but you couldn't outlaw Airbnbs. And at this point, it's been in committee, and I think very soon is coming out for a vote by the House, the General Assembly. And so we're keeping an eye on it, but that bill might change everything if it's passed and signed by the governor. I mean, everything meaning you're not gonna be able to get rid of them. Even if you want to.
My question wasn't about getting rid of them, it was about the signs.
Right. Well, we have a zoning section about signs.
It's not real clear about rentals.
No, but we do allow temporary signs for rental.
It's not temporary.
I know, it sounds permanent.
It's my understanding, I just found out that Gloria Glenn's has a village and an association. And their association is what's working on the banning of not banning, but they're setting up term limits for their, short-term rentals, not the village. Cause I
Well, they
just
don't-
had a discussion with their mayor.
Yeah.
And, he was telling me that they have an association that's setting up those guidelines. So I don't know I just found out about their association versus their council.
That's not right, not correct, because the association handles the beach and the lakefront. That's all they do, I mean, and the docks. And, they're subordinate to the village, they can't make laws. But it's village council that proposed an ordinance to ban short-term rentals.
And then I heard today Seville has, what they think are very good guidelines about their short-term rentals, and they kind of run them like, don't quote me, I know I'm being recorded, but, something about, along the lines of a hotel type guidelines, and if you have a short-term rental, they have to be inspected, and so apparently whatever
Right.
they're doing, they're all very happy with in Seville, so.
Yeah, I've looked at a lot of different samples from around the area. But about the sign, I don't see anything that would prohibit the sign.
Is that a business in a residential area?
Well, rental is a business, but rentals are allowed in residential areas. You know,
It's allowed to rent.
so it's not like you're
Yeah.
it's not like you're fabricating
Thing is what the problem is.
machines in your basement, not that it's rental, which is a legitimate thing you do in a residential district.
We, on the Airbnb issue, several people on council and others had actually been to Niagara, the Canadian side of Niagara, and we stayed at an Airbnb, or I stayed at an Airbnb, and the owner of that was actually integral in the, obviously Airbnbs are big in Niagara Falls area. And he was, because there was a lot of legislation and issues that were coming down on him, and he sent us a lot of information. This was about 3 years ago. And it really got to be a political nightmare from a legislative standpoint. So when I looked at it, distilled it, the things, because there's people have rentals all around this village, wherever. Now you define it as a short term of 2 days or 2 months, or it got to be really silly. But from a village, from a legislative standpoint or a governing standpoint, make sure that your rules for parking, zoning, noise issues that might disrupt, lake parties, the kind of things that might get out of control. Make sure that we have those monitored and in place and enforced where it's necessary. But the legislative part, from this guy's perspective, they've got to be very, very just ugly, and I don't know how they resolve if they have, but rentals have been in this village forever. In fact, I knew the strategy was that people were here in the summertime, and I went out and saw teachers coming in, new teachers coming into town to rent their house during the other thing, and they thinking they would be gone by time summertime. So there was a lot of basis to that, and you're in the business, so you know who rents, who turns, who does what. I see people that have rentals right in the audience here, so.
And nobody's talking about the rentals, they're talking about how ugly the signs are, and that they are permanently on this front of this house, and they look horrible.
Oh,
And they're both,
review.
2 of them, they're this big, each one is the size of this picture. On 2 of them, on the front of the house.
I'm not gonna disagree with you. We have sign ordinances, and if we have to monitor that, kind of goes to what can we do from a
If every
standpoint.
rental house had one of those signs, it would be unbelievable.
Yeah, if somebody had a house for rent, it's a little sign you buy at Kmart, in their windows, that any different than on the side. Gotta define that. It's unsightly, that's for sure.
I think what's happening,
Airbnb.
ladies and gentlemen, is we have marched along unfettered by rules and regulations regarding rentals. And as Alan correctly pointed out, we have a multitude of those throughout our community. Long-standing. And there's a viable industry among us of flipping houses and turning them into rentals. If you pay a nickel's worth of attention to the world we live in, you realize that we're very quickly approaching the have and have-nots. And by that I mean to say, do you have the financial resources to buy a home, or are you going to be a renter for the majority of your adult life? there's a lot of social change going on. We don't like the signs, they're not attractive, they're not what we're about. But we need to address that in a thoughtful way, a systematic way. We can't draw our six guns and start blasting. We gotta be careful, we gotta be careful about it.
Even political signs are only allowed in so for a duration of time, they're not permanent.
Yeah, but you can make the argument, it is but a rental sign. It is but a rental sign. Unfortunately for you, this is what I'm doing as a rental. I'm not renting it for 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. I'm renting it for a weekend. So the ground we walk upon get a little fuzzy, and now we have our elected officials in Columbus who do not want to trample on free enterprise.
No one's saying we shouldn't rent, they're just talking about the big signs, there's a very big difference here.
We can look at that. Yeah, I don't know how it reads. I know we went through it a year ago on the political signs, the duration of time that they were up there. So there's some writing in there. I guess I don't know the clauses that might affect the type of signs that we're confronted with here. But I think it's worthy, and hopefully, with Michael said, others that are concerned, we can take a look and read those and see how.
It's a slippery slope too, because what may look tacky to you might look amazing to them. And it's an advertisement for real estate, and I might have one sign for mine, and someone else might have what you think is an ugly sign. I mean, it's not a homeowners association, we're not saying everybody's sign needs to look like this, and I'm not advocating
If it's
for
in
that.
for rent, I would be fine. It doesn't say for rent.
When you go to Florida and you drive around and you see vacation rentals, is that what their signs look like? I mean, they're stuck in
There are big
inside of their
posters
home.
on big, poles.
They put them on the front of the house because they were told they couldn't be in the yard.
I know.
So,
We have a regulation for the size of signs. I'm gonna take a look at it. But, it sounds like it was objected to in the yard, so they put the sign on the house. If we tell them they can't have the sign on the house, I'm sure it'll be in the window then.
Right.
And that's, art or decoration. So it is a slippery slope. But we'll look at it, right, Jim?
Allison, did you have anything?
32 square
Nothing,
feet.
okay.
How much?
32 square feet.
32?
That's a sheet of plywood.
4 by 8.
Casual or other temporary signs.
Well, look under regular signs. Because this is beyond the
Permanent.
pale temporary sign.
One temporary real estate sign.
We will look into it. We did it. Got it before.
Route 15.
And there wasn't any appetite for regulating it before. I tried.
Construction sign, 25 square feet.
Everybody, was not interested. That's not who we are, that's not what we're about, and we're not gonna do that.
Okay, Alan's gonna look into it, and he can report back next month. Kelly, do you have anything? Pam?
No.
Bob? Come on, you guys. Bill?
Yes, there's a very big project going on up in the tennis court, and I'm not sure that everybody's aware that completely redoing the tennis courts. Fence, surface, everything. This week, we will have new benches on the west side, and the new plastic benches will be there. And, there's been a lot of questions going around here, there about what we're doing. This is a project that John Sandora has taken over. And I think that when people ask you about this, that, or what have you, I think all questions ought to be addressed to John Sandora because it's his project.
That's why he tells me everything he's doing. That's why I'm telling you what he said tonight, because he couldn't be here. But you're correct.
Yeah.
It is John Sandora's project because we want one person in charge of that, and he's the one.
and he's doing a really good
He's
job.
doing a great job.
That's it.
Okay, is there somebody behind you, Bob?
Craig's back there.
Right back here.
Yeah, Greg, I see you, I said, you're next.
Good.
Lisa, did I miss you?
Nothing.
Mark?
Nothing.
Mark, you weren't here when I asked if there was anything for Save the Lake. Is there anything for Save the Lake?
Said Mark's not here.
No, nothing.
Did you get help?
Oh, no, I didn't, because you kept moving around, so you might.
I'm fine, no comment, good job.
Okay, that's everybody, right? Okay, now we will go on to new business, which we do have.
I have some new business.
Go ahead.
We have a large sugar maple within the park confines at Bungalow Bay, directly across from Shadywood. It has rot at the bottom. And what is of particular concern is it's got fungal growth. In other words, it's growing toadstools. And even though you look at the canopy, it's all bright and green and fully leafed. There's a few dead branches up the top. Sugar maple is what they call a junk tree, and it's very brittle. And the arborist that looked at it said, I would consider cutting it down to minimize any potential liability. As good as it looks, it could just fall to the ground tomorrow. And
Village land?
yeah, it's up in the village, and because it's up on the top of the hill, it catches a lot of wind up there. So I would like to ask for $2,500 to get that removed.
Thought you wanted to take out oak trees up there.
No, the oak tree's okay, the maple tree is bye-bye. The oak tree is fine. The oak tree displays a similar disfigurement, but an oak tree is a much more substantial species. And sugar maple is not what you want to keep around if it starts to go.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay,
Does that come out of the zoning budget?
Yes, he's got the money.
okay, I want to spend $2,700 for gravel at the end of the tennis court on the Bungalow Bay side, which would be the, I guess, kind of south side.
South side?
And then the other area is the ramp going back to the boat ramp and that parking lot there. It's getting very, very compacted and we need to refresh it. So that's $2,700. And the last bit of business, Tom Keys passed along to me, Ken, just tonight, asking for extra money to their contract because of the increased gas costs. Not only driving their trucks, but running their equipment. And I suggest we give them $150 extra until this gas prices goes away, if it goes away.
I'm only glad.
$150 a mowing.
On a month for the increased gas
I
costs.
think it's fair.
Yeah.
It is $5 a gallon now.
Okay, so which motion are you making here first? You got the gravel? And you got the mowing guy, now that's different things.
Well, let's wait, back up to the gravel. I'll make a motion, we spend $2,700 for new gravel. I need a second.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed?
All right, I'll make a motion, we add $150 a month gas for lawn mowing services,
Starting when?
ASAP.
And why don't you give a date or an amount? If gas goes down to X, then it'll be eliminated.
Yeah, say $2.
Yeah, sure, 25 cents.
How about 3
Until the midterm elections.
So I guess I'm trying to, we're all impacted by the gas price. And, you know, Jim are you all gas or are you diesel and all gas? $150 could have 3 more gallons. Is that enough to cover?
Well, I think you guys would shoot if I said 200.
No, I mean, we need the services that he provides. I'm just sort of trying to be fair with him in a budgetary, because there's no contract that has escalators, you know, of these kind of things that might be other ways that it would be negotiated. Alan, do you see contracts where they have escalators on?
Trash contracts, trash pickup.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be it.
How do they?
Well, they have, I've had contracts I've worked on that have provisions in them.
Well, maybe we could approach it for an interim period of time until we get a more favorable contract, because prices could go up.
Curtis always had those C. Martin contracts for fuel costs. And then Kimball, I think it is, has one where if the cost of living, it's a certain consumer price index. Every year the price is adjusted based on that.
Well, maybe so it's fair for him, let's do it as let's getting through summer. Let's say we go up 200 a month through end of September ballpark.
How much gas does he burn a month? Because he must have bid the contract at like $3.50 a gallon or $4 a gallon.
That wasn't part of the bid.
No, but when he calculated his profit margin, gas is not free. So if you're talking, how much gas?
I didn't have, when we wrote the contract, we didn't break it out in that manner. I understand what you're getting at.
Did he ask you for an amount?
We had a sidebar, his partner in lawn mowing. So,
That's their suggestion, 150?
well, they talked about 100. I said, no, that's way cheap. 150 is more realistic. I really, if I'm honest, I agree with Alan. And I think the way to bookmark that is cover the summer months with an extra $200 a month.
The contract will be up in October anyway.
Kind of back to Andy's
It's a
comment,
3-year.
how many gallons a month are we talking about?
I
You know,
can't.
I guess that would be, you'd have to ask the sponsor, how many gallons of gas to go through a month? And then put some kind of an adjustment.
Yeah,
on
I'm
it
not disagreeing,
based
we're
on that.
trying to backfill on
And
this.
then that would go up and down.
If the contractor's asking for 100 a month, why are we giving him more?
Because he's a very modest guy. He
knows his
would buy,
costs.
he would buy shoes a size too small, if that was the right thing. So I'm trying to take care of his naivete. You know, so's Alan.
So he told you 100, you said 150, now you guys are up to 200.
Pretty much.
I think you give him 100 for month of June and then negotiate from there and find out more realistic what the cost is.
Yeah, how many gallons of fuel is he going through?
I'll do that, or you can do that.
And then, you know, in all fairness to him and the village, you know, he's got an increase of $1 a gallon at 100 gallons.
I mean, here's a guy that will adjust his schedule to his detriment to make sure it's freshly mowed when we have special events, or the holidays are coming, and he's done it repeatedly. And I just want to take care of him because that's the right thing to do.
But then we should do that separate, not mix up with the gas. Because when the gas goes down, you're gonna take it away. So if you wanna change his contract, and then give us supplement for the gas. Don't, you're missing two topics.
I think that's a good idea,
But
I mean, it's gonna be up.
Hey, I don't care.
It's over.
I don't care.
It makes sense. I'm saying it goes to 2023, but the season will be up in October.
Right, that's right, yeah, that's true.
I would move that we temporarily adjust $100 through the end of June for Keys mowing, and then come back at the next meeting with a better strategy that looks good from a contractual standpoint.
Yeah, but he's not the only nice guy we got working around here, so.
I know that.
Yeah, but it's a bite, when it makes them blink.
It does. I'll ask, okay, Ken, I'll just ask Tom to try and figure out a gallon of gasoline consumption. He should be able to do that.
Oh, you should know that very easily.
And then we can talk specifically about cost yesterday versus what. We'll do that.
So my motion, do you want to accept my motion of $100?
Is there a second to
I'll
Alan's
second, I'll
motion?
second his motion.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, we have one more thing to bring up.
And I'm gonna make a motion, we move into executive session for discussion of a personnel matter.
After you do this business. An ordinance, you have an ordinance
Okay.
and an appointment. Okay, what's happening here is, we've had some,
Well, ma'am, can we do that after? Let's do this.
no,
Okay. That would be a more appropriate, then we have a discussion, and then we come back and do that when we're back in session. Please.
Is that a personnel matter?
Yes. it is.
Law director has to advise you on this.
So let's talk about
not appropriate for executive session, so just go ahead or I will, and we'll get this over with.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so we've had some, Jim Brandenburg has done a great job as zoning inspector, but he has had from time to time some health issues, which has brought up the idea of an assistant zoning inspector. We brought this up earlier this year, and then we had a few things going on. Jim had some complications in his life and stuff, and there was time when he was bright pressed for time. So, we, talking with Jim, he has, said that he could use an assistant zoning inspector, and he would train this person in the event that Jim ever resigns, moves away, I don't know, gets in a fight with blood, whatever. Then we have someone to go into that position. Therefore, I'd like to ask you, and I know all you councilmen got this paperwork today, to create a position of an assistant zoning inspector who would work with Jim. Jim would train him. A zoning inspector is not an easy person to find. And say Jim had his back surgery and was able to never work again. So there we'd be. Now we had to find a zoning inspector, so we could say to somebody, we'll go out there and write them a permit. And they'd say, well, where's the paper? What do we write it on? And we don't know. So that's why we need, Jim has been nice enough to volunteer to help a new guy. And then if he ever decides to leave a year or so, whatever, then we have someone. So the first thing is we have this ordinance to create this position.
Right, and I've written up an ordinance, is it 874, Gary?
That's correct.
Okay. 874-22. It's simple, it just says.
Do you want to see it or
I'm sorry?
no? Do you want to see it on TV or no?
They all got it.
I sent it to all of you, but it's very simple.
Okay.
I'd rather just explain it. Number one, it says the position of assistant zoning inspector is created. And then number two, it says the job description, qualifications, compensation, and other terms of employment will be established by village council. So they'll fill that in from time to time by motion. But this creates the position to allow that to happen. That's all it does. First reading?
Yeah.
First reading by title only, ordinance number 874-22. An ordinance creating the position of assistant zoning inspector for the village and declaring the same an emergency.
Okay, so we need a motion to waive the 3 readings.
Right.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We need a motion to pass the ordinance as an emergency.
So move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very
Opposed? Okay, now, of course, we have talked about this among the council people getting this kind of set up, and we have actually picked a person that is willing to take this job on, to see if he likes it, and in turn, we see if we like him. So that person that I would like council's permission to appoint is Matt Sorge. There's no conflict of interest with his wife being on council, by the way.
As long as you don't vote on it.
I'm not.
Matt is a contractor, he's got a lot of knowledge of building and that sort of thing. He's talked to Jim a few times, they seem to hit it off pretty well, and he's willing to learn this job. So I would like your approval or your permission to appoint Matt Sorge to the Assistant Zoning Inspector spot.
I'll make a motion to do that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we have one
Abstain.
abstain. Okay. Now, the part that has to be worked out a little bit is this, the duties and responsibilities. Basically, what's gonna happen here, Jim's gonna train him, and then, if I'm understanding this right, Jim, when you have some, maybe you can't get here or something, or maybe you'll ask him to go with you a few times just to see how it goes. And then when you have a variance, that would be important to, take him along. Or maybe there'll just be something that comes up where you, after he learns a little bit, where you just plain can't get there and he could go, and you're still, the main zoning inspector. Is that the way you see it?
Yeah, and when we talked, I said, it's gonna be a slow thing where I get a permit in the mail. Let's look at what the application, make sure the application's filled out correctly, let's go through all the steps of that. Let's go and do a site visit and see what they're asking for, talk to the homeowner and the contractor, and look at plans. He's pretty good, probably blueprints and stuff like that too. So I think it's gonna be a very complimentary type situation. And I think he'll catch on pretty quick, except for maybe the law part of it, which I'm still working with Alan on that. I mean, I'm 10 years into this, and there's still a lot of things I don't know. So
That's what he.
right. So when I don't know that Alan does.
Is this a part-time job or a full-time job or?
It's a part-time.
It's it's
All right, I'm just curious.
That's not a lot of hours in a week,
Okay.
so.
My input was the job duties, wasn't written as an assistant. And I didn't like the reporting thing, so I think there's some things in the job duties, the way it's written, to make it appropriate for the person. I think Matt's an excellent choice, I'm not talking about that. But we don't want him ability to go out and do whatever he wants and report back to Jim. I want him to do it in the direction of the zoning inspector.
Yeah.
Do you want to rewrite a little bit of it? or-
Yeah, you probably.
I made some comments. I mean, this is a job,
'Cause he won't be-
the council develops the job responsibilities and duties, wages and all that. So we created a position. All I'm doing, trying to do is fine tune the job description.
Any changes you want, I'll be glad to make it.
I think it would make it look more like he is an assistant there.
Right.
And in other words, I wouldn't expect him to file the monthly zoning report unless Jim was totally out of commission.
No, and I wouldn't expect it either, but to put it together, to sit down and say, because I'm basically training him to take over for me.
Right, so I mean, you get his input, and you can do it together.
And eventually he'll be able to do whatever, and it'll be kind of like a teacher-student until we're, on the same basis. And I'm like, this is great.
And that gives him time to decide if he likes this,
Right.
and in turn, we decide if we like him.
Right, and he's also limited because he works all day. He doesn't get home till what, 5 o'clock most nights? 6 o'clock sometimes?
4:30 normally.
Yeah.
He's out at 3:30. If he could be anywhere from an hour away or closer, sometimes 2 hours if he's out in VA.
Yeah, the hitch in that is sometimes I get a call in the middle of the day, hey, you better see what's going on over here, and I drop what I'm doing and I go and do that. And I make a trip here. If it's not so much of an emergency, I mean, I've had people building stuff without a permit and have pulled up at the end of the driveway and said, hey, you know, but a lot of my times, like I said, I would try to schedule doing things with him when he's done with work, so.
Well, that could work in your favor in a way too, because say you get one of these, people that is totally building without a permit, and Matt happens to be home and you're working in one of your jobs, you could easily tell him, to go tell him to stop.
Yep, and I would.
And so then that's the other thing you need super speed for, is something like that. The people wanting permit stuff, they have to wait till tomorrow. As long as there's not too many tomorrows, they can do it.
And a lot of people are under the impression, and it's written in our code, that permits can take up to 30 days. It's the way it's written in the code, but I try to turn it around in 2 or 3 days at the most. Because I know how important it is. Somebody who has this vision, they want to get moving on it. And I go, hey, well, let me come over and we'll look at this and yeah, okay, everything's fine. And then Bud usually signs the permits. She's the co-signer of the permits.
As far as moving forward here, I'd given some preliminary comments. I think you would have got those back, but I did it late this afternoon. But if you relook at the job duties as an assistant, I think you could polish this up to the appropriate level.
What about the requirement for the criminal background check?
I think in today's world, I'm not casting any dispersions. I think that's just smart business.
You know that we don't require that of the zoning inspector, right?
And shame on us for not requiring it.
Yeah.
Maybe it looks like he needs one.
Require that for councilmen.
No, see, that's
Drug tests.
Anybody can run for council. Get enough signatures.
And you only need
No job qualifications.
Okay, now one of the things Alan said we have to do is set compensation. In talking to Bud, our suggestion is $25 an hour. Jim gets a monthly pay, a set pay each month. Matt would be better off on an hourly for now.
What about expenses, travel, gas, those kind of mileage expenses?
This will be cheaper than Jim's.
I'm not disagreeing, but when you're saying compensation or reimbursing of expenses, I don't know what it'd be. It's gonna be driving around the village. We don't have to.
We'll try something like that in there because.
How do you figure his mileage on his golf cart?
That's what I was gonna say. We haven't filled that tank since last summer.
I just don't know what's fair. So I moved that compensation would be $25 an hour.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed?
Abstaining myself from that one.
Yep.
Should you say,
Yes.
I think most times.
you might look in there and see if there are any expenses he'd have.
Now, it's my understanding, Gary, this money, this pay will come out of the zoning budget.
Right, I've already plugged the money in the 23 budget.
Okay. And, my intention as zoning to provide him with a Chromebook so that's how Jim and I communicate. We share drives on our Chromebook so we can communicate back and forth. Actually, I'd like to see all council members have Chromebooks, so we can see that very thing.
And everything that I have set up for zoning is using the Google Doc or something or other, which makes it seamless. I can give him all the templates of letters and permits and things like that, and put it in his drive, so he has it on his computer to see.
Does he have computer literacy? Let's see if I could ask the spouse then. How do you evaluate Matt's computer literacy?
I will be helping.
And Jim, the other thing I want the council members to be aware of, Jim has offered the assistance of he and his wife, for both, who are both exceedingly computer literate. And this is a very user-friendly computer environment.
He'll be fine. He just gets frustrated when the internet's slow, but after November, that should be fixed.
Yeah, and I think it'll be fine.
I'm also gonna suggest that we change this to the criminal background check being at the village expense.
And that's fine
I think
too.
that's only fair.
That's fine too.
Okay.
I just think it's good business to do it.
I agree.
Yeah, but I'm not sure it's fair to ask the applicant for a part-time job.
And that's fine.
Okay,
That's fine. I'm good with that.
Teachers that
When you do these contracts, do you put them as an at-will employee?
yes. This is gonna be the job description.
Okay, so you're on polished out.
So, yeah, and you'll have to approve it by motion. And I'll get something out to you.
Now, is he a W-2 employee?
Pardon?
Is he W-2 employee?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
He would be a person over there?
Yes.
Or 1099, you have to have his own liability insurance to do that.
Well, he's an employee
He's
of
an
the
employee.
village.
Yeah, employee of the village.
Right.
You don't need that.
Too.
You have to put on, make sure it gets on our insurance.
Yeah, get all the paperwork.
Right.
Okay, is there anything else?
I have nothing.
I had just one quick question was, is there any way, do we have a way to determine, how many people are watching these meetings live and how many are watching the recorded?
There were 22 people last time I saw.
It shows up on the YouTube channel? Okay.
22.
22.
Do you know what it was last month?
It should be on the post, right, Mark? When you go to the YouTube channel, it should show all that. I'll double check.
And a special thank to Nagy and Crossy for keeping us moving on that. I think we're starting to get our procedures down nice and pat so that they can train Jim or Barbara, whoever's appropriate, to learn how to do the setup and get it going. Some of the, there's just some of the YouTube issues they fine tuned on, and they get that locked in. So.
We're down to 2 now. So.
Yeah, right. Yeah, special thanks, Ed, and thank you.
2 months ago, we were at your
Can I make a motion?
Yes, please.
Can we please adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
We're all happy, so. Gotta watch it there. Same difference.
Not really.